Chapter 3088. The Demon Palace's wrath burned through all of Second Sky. In their own territory, they didn't even know who the other party was. Such humiliation was unprecedented. The Demon Palace. Inside the Great Hall, Mo Wufeng's face was getting darker and darker. Looking at the 30-odd elders below him, he said coldly, "You guys have really made me proud. After so many months, you guys still don't know who the other party is. Good, very good." The elders didn't dare speak. They just stood there in silence. Everyone knew very well that the Palace Lord's anger had reached its limit. Whoever dared to provoke the Palace Lord at this time would be dead. Seeing no one speak, Mo Wufeng's anger grew. At this moment, "All of you, leave." Once everyone was gone, two figures appeared in the Great Hall. "Greetings, Ancestor." Looking at the man and beast that had suddenly appeared before him, Mo Wufeng immediately bowed respectfully and greeted. The man and beast who had just appeared were none other than Mo Wutian and Judas, who had just returned. One man and one beast chased after Qin Shuangshuang, but she ended up hiding in the Forbidden Grounds, a place they didn't even want to enter. It was depressing. If he couldn't control Qin Shuangshuang, then he couldn't force Longao to hand over the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex. "Yes, I already know about the Demon Palace. You don't need to investigate, I know who did it. There was only one person in all of Chaos who could create corpses and soul servants. Most people didn't know, but how could Judas and Wutian not know? Ancestor, who is it?" Mo Wufeng was taken aback. He had never imagined that not only would this matter alert the old ancestor, but that the old ancestor would even know who the other party was. He couldn't wait. Mo Wufeng wanted to know who it was that dared to provoke the Demon Palace. Longao. Longao. As the palace leader, of course he knew who the Longao was. But he couldn't figure out why the Demon Palace and the Longao had no grudge against each other. Why would the Longao target the Demon Palace? If a madman who didn't fear anything was plotting against the Demon Palace, then things were going to be troublesome. What should he do? Ancestor, Longao is indeed troublesome. Longao is targeting the Demon Palace because of me. Huh. Hearing the old ancestor's words, Mo Wufeng's face turned pale. Who was Longao? Even a god ancestor wouldn't be able to go against the old ancestor. It was simply nonsense. Old ancestor Mo Wutian was one of the strongest existences in the Chaos realm. His cultivation had reached the rebirth realm. Even though he had just awakened his primordial spirit and his strength had not recovered to its peak, he was not someone that a mere Longao could contend against. Mo Wutian didn't say anything. "Let's go. Ancestor, what should we do now?" "Do what you need to do." Wutian and Judas turned and left. In the blink of an eye they were gone. Mo Wufeng's face was filled with helplessness. Naturally, he knew what the old master meant. Immediately, he gathered all the elders and got straight to the point. "I already know who the culprit is." "Palace Master, who is it?" All the elders were pleasantly surprised. They had been investigating for several months, but they still hadn't found anything. Now that they really knew who it was, how could they not be surprised and anxious? Longao. Hearing the name Longao, everyone felt completely helpless. Because in the Chaos realm, Longao was the most famous person. Everyone knew that Longao was a complete madman who feared nothing. "Palace Master, we will make the arrangements. As long as the culprit is still in the Second Sky, we will definitely be able to kill him." The most mysterious thing was the most difficult to deal with. Now that they knew Longao's identity, it wasn't that difficult to deal with him. According to the legends, Longao was only a god emperor. Now that they thought about it, it was true. If he was a hierarch, why would he not dare to deal with a hierarch instead of a hierarch? It was simply nonsense. Suddenly, the Devil Palace spread the news that the one who dealt with the Devil Palace was Longao. When the news came out, the entire primal chaos world was shaken. Longao was truly a war maniac. No matter where he went, he would bring about a reign of terror. First, he dealt with the Domain Lord Alliance. Then, he started a war with the Devil Palace. What was Longao trying to do? They couldn't figure it out. They really couldn't figure it out. However, Since the Devil Palace already knew who the culprit was, it was easy to figure out the situation. After all, the situation in the second sky was different from the first sky. The first sky had two superforces, the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance, each occupying half of the sky. Therefore, it was much easier for Longao to leave. However, the situation in Second High was completely different. There was only one superpower in Second High, and that was the Demon Palace. With a single order, the Demon Palace could seal off the entire Second High. Even the teleportation arrays would be blocked. It was practically impossible for Longao to leave Second High. Longao had hit an iron plate this time. After Mo Wutian and Judas left, they released their auras. However, it wasn't easy to lock onto Longao's position. As soon as they released their auras, they touched Longao's aura. It seems that Longao is also looking for us. Since that's the case, let's make a trip. Mo Wutian sneered. He and Judas instantly sped up. On the peak of a lonely mountain, looking at the man and beast who suddenly appeared, Longao didn't show any fear. He said coldly, "Mo Wutian, you dare to deal with Shuang Shuang. When I return to my peak, I will use you to prove my Tao." Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Hearing Longao's words, Mo Wutian laughed crazily as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. "Longao, if you were the old you, I might have been wary of you. But now, do you think you have what it takes to bargain with me?" Judas and Wutian didn't place Dragon Ao in their eyes. Dragon Ao's power was far greater than theirs, and they weren't even on the same level. If they wanted to deal with him, they could do it in a matter of minutes. How could Longao not know what they were thinking? But he didn't show the slightest hint of fear. He sneered. "Mo Wutian, you should know that I cultivate the 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex. It has a secret skill that can take you down with me. Do you think you have what it takes to be arrogant in front of us?" Hearing Longao's words, Wutian Mo's face darkened. This was the real reason why the others didn't dare act against Longao. The 9 Revolutions Chaos Codex was powerful, otherwise they wouldn't have failed to deal with Longao. In the end, they were afraid of Longao's so-called mutual destruction. "Are you afraid, Mo Wutian? Unless you can successfully prove your Tao, you'll have to die together with me." Ha ha ha. Chapter 3089. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. Mo Wutian's face grew increasingly gloomy and ugly. "Longao, I only need to succeed in my Tao validation. Everything else has nothing to do with me." In the end, Mo Wutian chose to compromise. There was no need for him to clash head-on with his opponent. Like he said, all he needed was to succeed in proving his Tao. "Sure. Really?" Hearing Longao's words, Mo Wutian was a little surprised. He had never imagined that Longao would agree so readily. "As long as you agree to 2 of my conditions, I will help you 10,000 years later. As for whether you succeed or not, it will depend on your own luck." "Enough, go ahead. The first condition is that after 10,000 years, you are not allowed to deal with Shuang Shuang and my family." "No problem." Mo Wutian didn't even think about it before agreeing. Originally, the reason he dealt with Qin Shuang Shuang was to seize Longao's 9 Revolution Chaos formula and successfully validate his Tao. Now that Longao had agreed, there was no point in continuing to deal with Qin Shuang Shuang. "The second condition is for the Devil Palace to stop sealing me. I want to leave the second sky region." Now that he had reached an agreement with Mo Wutian, there was no point in continuing to deal with the Devil Palace. This time, Longao's main goal in dealing with the Devil Palace was to force Mo Wutian out. After all, he had yet to recover to his peak, and was no match for Mo Wutian. Although he had Hao Lin's help, who could guarantee that everything would go smoothly, this was the best solution. With regards to Longao's intentions, how could Mo Wutian not know? Without even thinking, he nodded and agreed. "I can promise you, but how can I trust you?" "I swear on my Tao." After swearing the oath, Mo Wutian naturally wouldn't have any more doubts. "Longao, 10,000 years later, if both of us are able to attain our Tao successfully, that might not be a bad thing." Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Laughing heartily, Wutian and Judas turned and left. In the blink of an eye they were gone. "Boss, 10,000 years later, are you really going to help him attain his Tao?" Xiao He was very surprised. In his opinion, Boss and Mo Wu Tian were like fire and water. Since that was the case, how could Boss casually help him? This was simply nonsense. "Little Black, my help is one thing. Whether or not he can succeed in proving his Tao is another." Little Black seemed to understand what Boss meant. "How dare you touch my daughter?" Little He smiled. Longao smiled as well. Just when everyone thought that the Demon Palace would go all out to deal with Longao, the situation suddenly changed. The Demon Palace had just issued a kill order, but they suddenly retracted it. Furthermore, the matter from before was written off. They announced to the outside world that this matter had nothing to do with Longao at all, but someone else. What did that mean? As long as one was not a fool, one would be able to guess that something must have happened to the Demon Palace. Otherwise, why would they suddenly withdraw the kill order? This was definitely Longao's doing. There was no doubt about it. What was the reason? To be able to make the Demon Palace suddenly withdraw the kill order, it was easy to imagine what it meant. This Longao was truly resourceful. Longao was probably the first person in the chaotic realm to have offended both the Martial Artists Alliance and the Demon Palace. In the second sky region, all the transmission formations were reopened. Longao appeared in the Demon City openly. He did not leave immediately, but deliberately stayed in the Demon City. Longao's actions completely angered the people of the Demon Palace. However, the Palace Master of the Demon Palace personally ordered that no one was to provoke Longao. Those who disobeyed the order would be expelled from the Demon Palace, and those who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Even so, there were still some people who could not bear it. Longao provoked him again and again, and it was unbearable at this moment. At first, there were people who came to make trouble for Longao, but in the end, no matter how many people came, Longao did not show any mercy and killed them openly. The entire Demon City was completely shaken. This person was too arrogant. He dared to provoke the lion and pull the tooth out of the tiger's mouth. In the main hall of the Demon Palace, Palace Master, Longao has killed several god emperors of the Demon Palace. If we don't kill him, where will the Demon Palace's face go? I've already warned all of you not to provoke Longao. Those who don't listen deserve to die. How could he not be angry? As the Palace Master of the Demon Palace, Missouri Wufeng was more furious than anyone else. But what could he do? The old ancestor had personally told him that Longao was not to be trifled with. As for the reason, the old ancestor did not say, and he did not dare to ask. Now that the old ancestor had left, he did not dare to go against the old ancestor's orders. Mo Wufeng knew clearly that as long as the old ancestor said a word, he would be replaced as the Palace Master. No one would dare to stand out and say anything. Not daring to go against the old ancestor's orders, he could only avoid Longao and hope that the Longao would leave as soon as possible. Until now, he still couldn't understand why the old ancestor would treat Longao this way. One should know that it was because of Longao that the Demon Palace was almost destroyed. Not only did the old ancestor tolerate it, he even ignored it. "Palace Master, we would like to ask, why did you take back the killing order?" The four elders asked at the same time. Including all the elders, even Mo Wufeng couldn't do anything about it. After all, he wasn't the only one who had the final say in the Demon Palace. Not only the Demon Palace, but also the Domain Lords Alliance and the Pill Hall. Mo Wufeng sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Everyone, I can tell you that this decision wasn't made by me. It was made by the old ancestor. If anything happens to you, you can look for the old ancestor." "Ah, old ancestor?" Hearing that the old ancestor was involved in this matter, everyone was shocked. They didn't have any doubts because even the Palace Master wouldn't dare to casually use the old ancestor's name. If that was really the case, everyone couldn't understand why the old ancestor would do such a thing. What did the old ancestor mean by this? "Palace Master." Mo Wufeng knew what everyone wanted to ask. He waved his hand and said, "Don't ask me. Even I would like to know what the old ancestor means. However, since this is the old ancestor's intention, we can't go against it. Pass down my order, from now on, No one is allowed to touch Longao. Those who disobey will be killed without mercy. As the Demon Palace's order was passed down, no one dared to touch Longao anymore. This was already enough to explain everything. When the people of the Demon Palace received the news, they were once again shocked to the extreme. They couldn't understand what was wrong with the Demon Palace. The other party had already bullied them, so why did they have to hide again and again? What's going on? The Demon Palace is actually afraid of a Longao? This is unbelievable. Who knows what's going on? What a disgrace. Chapter 3090. The entire Demon City was abuzz with discussion. No one knew what was going on. Why would the Demon Palace suddenly choose to compromise? It was hard to believe. People speculated that Longao had found someone to back him up. Or perhaps there was something the Demon Palace didn't dare do. They'd seen crazy, but never this crazy. They'd nearly destroyed the Demon Palace, and in the end they didn't even dare to fart. It was the first time in countless years something like this had happened. Longao still did not leave the Devil City. He was waiting for the people from the Devil Palace to come and find trouble with him. Although he'd negotiated with Wu Tianmo, if the Demon Palace dared to make a move, he could still destroy them. He'd kill as many as he could. It would be best if he could destroy them completely. And the result? Ever since that incident, the Demon Palace hadn't come looking for trouble. This made Longao very depressed. There was nothing he could do. If the Demon Palace didn't come looking for him, he couldn't continue to attack them. After all, Wu Tianmo had shown up. If it were just him, he wouldn't have to worry about the consequences. But things were different now. Even if he didn't think for himself, he had to think for his family. Wu Tianmo and Judah's strength was clear for all to see. Even if they hadn't yet returned to the chaos of reincarnation, they were still a formidable foe. If he couldn't deal with the Demon Palace, there was no point in staying. Now that the transmission array had all been activated, if Longao wanted to leave the Devil City, he could do so at any time. But at that moment, a primary-level ultimate god and a mid-level ultimate god were secretly tailing Longao. Their intentions were clear. If they couldn't deal with him openly, they'd deal with him in secret. Longao was just a god emperor. It was a piece of cake for a primary-level ultimate god and a mid-level ultimate god to kill a divine emperor. However, the two of them would never have thought that their target was not a divine emperor but an ultimate god. Longao had already sensed the aura of the two divine masters. He sneered inwardly. It seemed there were still people who couldn't keep their cool. Just in time. Longao also did not openly deal with the two of them. After all, he did not want the Demon Palace to know about this. With his and Blackie's current strength, they could at most kill a middle-level ultimate god if they worked together. They would not be able to deal with high-level ultimate god warriors. That was indeed the case. If Xiao Chen dealt with the two of them in secret, the demonic palace would have an endless stream of cultivators. In a mass grave. Since the two of you are here, why don't you show yourself? Heh! The two mid-level ultimate gods were a little dumbfounded. They had already done so much, yet the other party was still able to locate them. Even though they were surprised, they weren't afraid in the slightest. From the beginning until the end, they hadn't taken the other party seriously. As far as they were concerned, the reason the other party was so arrogant was none other than because the other party had cultivated some sort of secret technique that could refine soul slaves or corpse slaves. The other party's strength was obvious. Peak divine emperors, not to mention the two of them joining hands, even one of them could easily kill the other party. Ha ha ha, Longao, you're really arrogant. Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. A primary-level ultimate god took a big stride forward. It would be embarrassing if two ultimate gods joined forces to deal with a mere divine emperor realm expert. They did not use the formation nor did they let Blackie attack. Longao personally fought with the primary-level ultimate god. His cultivation level had already reached the primary-level ultimate god realm. Longao was very confident that he could kill a primary-level ultimate god and even kill a middle-level ultimate god. No one would believe a peak divine emperor could kill a primary-level ultimate god no matter where he went. After all, the difference in strength between the two was too big and they were not on the same level at all. The primary-level ultimate god sneered and did not take the other party seriously at all. He used his killing moves one after another without stopping. His goal was very simple, to end the battle as soon as possible. Although the Palace Master had already made it clear that they could not deal with Longao, if they were to secretly kill Longao, no one would know about it. Maybe the Palace Master would even reward them heavily at that time. That was the reason why the two secretly left the Demon Palace to deal with Longao. However, what was the result? Following his storm-like attacks, his opponent was actually able to counter every move he made. Was this for real? It was a little hard to believe even after experiencing it personally. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. It turned out that he had something to rely on. So what if the other party could withstand his attacks? It was a well-known fact that a divine emperor could not compete with an ultimate god. Therefore, the primary-level ultimate god was not worried at all. However, as the battle continued to escalate, the primary-level ultimate god realized something was amiss. Not only was his opponent able to withstand his crazy attacks, but he was also able to counterattack. Who knew what would happen if that continued? You're an ultimate god. The two of them were completely dumbfounded as they never expected the other party to be an ultimate god. That's enough. Prepare to die. Longao did not want to waste any more time. His first divine ability, Divine Punishment, was the pinnacle of 9-1. At that moment, the primary ultimate god suddenly felt a terrifying aura enveloping him. The chaos axe in his hand swung out and directly split the other party into two. In less than 10 moves, the primary-level ultimate god was successfully killed. The other mid-level ultimate god was completely dumbfounded. Is this for real? He was completely scared out of his wits. If the other party could kill a primary-level ultimate god, it was very likely that the other party could kill him as well. In that case, he would not even have the chance to regret if any accidents happened. The mid-level ultimate god immediately turned around and left. As for killing the other party, he decided to leave it to someone else as he did not want to get involved in this mess. Trying to leave? Longao sneered. The level 6 formation in his chaotic Dantian, the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation, directly enveloped the other party. The 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation was unable to kill a mid-level formation, but Longao only wanted to trap the other party. Longao's cultivation level was enough to kill a mid-level ultimate god. Both he and Xiao He were capable of doing so. Longao did not attack, but Xiao He chose to devour instead. The huge monster directly descended into the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. The mid-level ultimate god was completely dumbfounded and was swallowed by Xiao He before he could react. He did not even have the chance to resist. Boss, it seems like the Demon Palace doesn't want to let us go. Why don't we? Xiao He's intention was very clear. If he could continuously devour ultimate gods, his cultivation level might be able to quickly break through to the peak level 7 realm. At that time, it would not be difficult to devour high-level ultimate gods or even peak ultimate gods, let alone primary level or mid-level ultimate gods. Chapter 3091. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? Xiao He, you and I can only kill mid-level ultimate gods. We won't be able to do anything if we encounter high-level ultimate gods. There's no point in staying here. Boss, can we kill high-level ultimate gods if we work together? Yes. He did not even think about it. However, killing high-level ultimate gods was a little troublesome. If that's the case, I want to stay. He felt helpless. Since Xiao He wanted to stay, there was nothing he could do. They could indeed kill high-level ultimate gods if they worked together. However, it was still a little troublesome to kill peak ultimate gods. He thought for a while. To be sure, I'll try my best to upgrade the 9th heaven 10 earths killing formation. Once the formation breaks through from level 6 to level 7, we should be able to kill peak ultimate gods if we work together. The formation's power was needless to say. As for killing emperor gods, they did not even need to think about it. In the following days, Xiao He brought the 2 corpses to the Demon Palace and sent a message to the Demon Palace. The 2 of them deserved to die. They dared to provoke him, so he killed them. As for Longao, He focused on upgrading the 9th Heaven 10 Earth's killing formation's power as his cultivation base broke through to the ultimate god realm. Both the Inscription Master and Formation Master levels had broken through. It would be a lie to say they were not angry when the two ultimate gods were killed. What could they do even if they were angry? The Elder Ancestor had ordered that they were not allowed to harm Longao. However, the two of them deserved to die for provoking him. The Elders and Palace Masters were naturally aware of it, but the others were not. Xiao He had thoroughly angered everyone in the Demon Palace by sending the two corpses back to the Demon Palace. Even though there were orders not to let anyone out, there were still many who could not bear it. Palace Master, what should we do now? Longao has angered everyone. I'm afraid we can't control it. Mo Wufeng's face was extremely gloomy and as ugly as it could get. He did not expect Longao to be so arrogant as to not leave the second heavenly region. He was obviously so arrogant because he knew the Demon Palace would not dare to deal with him. Who dares to disobey the Elder Ancestor's orders? Other than anger, Mo Wufeng felt more helpless. Even he didn't dare to disobey the old ancestor's orders. If the old ancestor found out about this, who knew what would happen? Longao was not a divine king, but a divine venerable. This was something he never expected. It was almost certain. It was not hard to imagine what kind of cultivation realm he was in to be able to kill a primary-level ultimate god and a mid-level ultimate god. Palace Lord, the old ancestor has ordered that we are not allowed to take the initiative to provoke the other party. However, the other party has provoked us time and time again. We are only acting in self-defense and not going against the old ancestor's wishes. I don't know. Do as you see fit. Mo Wufeng was no longer willing to endure this. If this continued, the Devil Palace would lose all its face. Yes. All the elders were pleasantly surprised and immediately went out to make arrangements. 3 days later, Longao had successfully upgraded the 9 Heavens and 10 Grounds killing formation from level 6 to level 7. With that, it was not impossible for him and Xiao He to kill a peak ultimate god. Boss, what kind of cultivators do you think the Devil Palace will send to deal with us? Divine Emperor. There was no doubt about that. As long as the Demon Palace was not a fool, they would have guessed he and Xiao He were also ultimate gods after he killed the two ultimate gods. However, the Demon Palace was not sure if he could kill a high-level ultimate god and a peak ultimate god. However, it was precisely because of this uncertainty that the Devil Palace sent out Emperor gods. That way, they could be absolutely sure. Boss, although your 9 Heavens and 10 Grounds killing formation has been upgraded to level 7, it's still impossible to deal with an Emperor god. What should we do now? Blackie also knew that this matter was a little troublesome. He had always thought that the Demon Palace would send out godly venerables, but only godly emperors. They would not casually send them out. Ultimate gods and emperor gods were two different concepts. Even for a superpower like the Devil Palace, emperor gods were existences they could not afford to lose. They were considered the backbone of the Devil Palace. Longao smiled and said, Xiao He, don't worry. If I'm not wrong, the Devil Palace won't only send emperor gods. They'll also send ultimate gods. However, the next time, the weakest cultivator will be a high-level ultimate god. There was no doubt about that. That was what Longao wanted to see the most. Xiao He also smiled. The next task was to wait for the Devil Palace to make their move. It was just as Longao had guessed. The Devil Palace sent out an Emperor God, 4 peak ultimate gods, 10 high-level ultimate gods, and a total of 15 super experts just in case. They wanted to kill them without a hitch. However, the 15 of them would certainly not do it openly as the Palace Master had ordered them to. Boss, why don't I lure the Emperor God away while you trap the rest in the formation? Let's work together. Longao shook his head and said helplessly, we might be able to kill 1 or 2 peak ultimate gods or high-level ultimate gods. However, we won't be able to kill 14 high-level ultimate gods and peak ultimate gods at the same time even if we're in the 9 Heavens and 10 Grounds killing formation. Longao did not expect the Devil Palace to put in so much effort. Not only did they send out an Emperor God, but they also sent 4 peak ultimate gods and 10 high-level ultimate gods. It was indeed a troublesome matter. Xiao He smiled and said, "Boss, I might be able to break through to the peak level 7 realm if I can devour everyone's power." The thought of breaking through to the peak level 7 realm made one excited. Longao knew what Xiao He meant. However, it was indeed a troublesome matter. If it was not handled properly, they might end up losing the bait. After thinking about it, Longao suddenly said, "Things will be much easier if there's a way to separate them and we can take them down one by one." It was easy to think about, but it was extremely difficult to actually do it. The 15 of them were not fools. How could they simply choose to separate? Therefore, the most important thing now was to think of a way to separate them. "Boss, if we spread the news of you and me everywhere, I think they won't all go to the same place. It's most likely that they'll split into several groups. In that case, we can take them down one by one. This method is feasible." Whether it was ultimate gods or emperor gods, they were extremely arrogant. Once the news spread, the 15 of them would not go to the same place together. Did that not mean they were afraid of him? Therefore, the method was completely feasible. P.S. Sorry, Longao is already a primary level ultimate god and not a peak ultimate god emperor. The previous chapter has been changed. Thank you for the reminder. It's been hot these few days, so it's inevitable to make mistakes. Chapter 3092. In the second heavenly region. In Demon City. News spread everywhere that Longao was in different locations. Mo Xinfeng certainly did not know it was Longao's plan. Looking at the 14 hierarch warriors in front of him, Frenzied Devil said coldly, "Now, divide into 5 groups with 3 people in each group. No matter who can successfully kill Longao, the Devil Palace will heavily reward them." Yes. No one took Longao seriously. Killing a middle-level ultimate god did not mean anything. 4 peak ultimate gods and 1 emperor god each led 2 high-level ultimate gods to search for Longao's location. In the distance, Longao and Xiao He were very excited looking at the 15 demon Dao warriors who had split up. "Boss, shall we start now?" Longao shook his head and said, "My cultivation is about to make a breakthrough. It won't be too late to make a move after that." Longao had swallowed a lot of guts and was ready to make a breakthrough with the help of elixir pills and the remaining energy from before. If he could make a breakthrough into a middle-level ultimate god, he could easily kill a high-level ultimate god without the help of formations. There was no doubt about that. Xiao He was very surprised when he heard that his boss was about to make a breakthrough. Dealing with people and his boss's cultivation were not comparable at all. On a very secluded mountain peak, Longao sat cross-legged and began to cultivate quietly under Xiao He's protection. Originally, he could officially comprehend the second divine ability after breaking through to an ultimate god. He did not expect that everything would become so troublesome after this reincarnation. Longao roughly calculated that he would have to break through to the peak god ancestor level if he wanted to continue comprehending the second divine ability. Fortunately, the first divine ability, the peak divine punishment, could be used to deal with any warrior below the god ancestor level as long as his strength could keep up. It wasn't hard to imagine how terrifying the number 1 technique, the godly punishment, was. It was easy. In just a few hours, Longao had successfully made a breakthrough from a first-level ultimate god to a middle-level ultimate god. Just as Longao was about to give up on cultivating, the situation suddenly changed. Right at this moment, Longao sensed that a terrifying chaotic aura had suddenly erupted from his chaotic dantian and shrouded his entire body. Even he had no idea what was going on. However, the only thing he was sure of was that this chaotic aura was not harmful at all. On the contrary, it was indescribably beneficial to his cultivation. Overjoyed, Longao immediately borrowed the chaotic aura in his chaotic dantian and began to cultivate crazily. "Boss, what's going on?" Xiao He was curious as to why his boss was still cultivating even though he had successfully broken through to the mid-level ultimate god realm. Is boss planning to break through to high-level ultimate god? It seemed a little ridiculous. However, Xiao He didn't disturb Longao and just guarded him vigilantly. Time flew by quickly. 10 days later, Longao suddenly opened his eyes with surprise written all over his face. He did not expect to be so lucky as to be able to break through to the high-level ultimate god realm from the mid-level ultimate god realm with the help of the chaotic Dantian. He had broken through to the high-level ultimate god realm from the primary-level ultimate god realm in just 10 days. It was impossible for him to achieve such a cultivation speed before he reincarnated. Boss, did you really break through to the high-level ultimate god realm? Xiao He was in disbelief as he sensed the aura from his boss. What's going on? Longao nodded his head. He did not hide anything from Xiao He. He told Xiao He about what had happened. Boss, you didn't reach the limit when you first obtained the chaotic Dantian and merged it into the chaotic Dantian. You must upgrade your chaotic Dantian to the limit in this reincarnation. I'm looking forward to seeing what the limit of the chaotic Dantian is. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? It was easy to think of it, but difficult to actually do it. Xiao He, let's go. It's time for you to enjoy yourself. Okay. Longao, who had broken through to the high-level ultimate god realm, could kill a peak ultimate god without using the formation as his cultivation base continued to break through. However, it was easy to imagine what would happen if he used the formation if he wanted to end the battle quickly. The 15 of them were divided into 5 groups. As long as they avoided Longao's group, none of them would be a match for him in the remaining 4 groups. He casually chose a group. I'm speechless that 14 of us are needed to deal with a mere ultimate god expert. Even the elders have been dispatched. The elders were also divided into ranks. Mo Xinfeng was one of the higher-ranked elders in the Demon Palace and would not come out under normal circumstances. That was why everyone could not understand why they needed to send an Emperor God Elder to deal with a mere ultimate god expert. It was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. They would become a laughingstock if word got out. That's right. However, I can't believe Longao can refine soul slaves and corpse slaves. You can imagine what it means if we can get our hands on that secret technique. Who in the entire chaotic realm could refine soul slaves and corpse slaves? Furthermore, it was a soul slave and corpse slave that were stronger than the main body. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to obtain this secret technique. Do you really want to get your hands on that secret technique? The 3 of them had seen the portrait of the young man who suddenly appeared in front of them and knew who he was. The 3 of them sensed the young man's aura and knew he was an ultimate god, but only a high-level ultimate god. It did not seem difficult for a peak ultimate god and 2 high-level ultimate gods to kill a high-level ultimate god. That was why the 3 of them laughed and said, Longao, there's a path to heaven but you chose to barge into hell. If that's the case, don't blame us for being rude. Let's go. A strange aura instantly shrouded them before the 3 of them could make a move. It was the level 7-9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation that Longao had just released from his chaotic Dantian. Is this a formation? It's a level 7 formation. Let's go. The 3 of them finally knew why the young man dared to take the initiative to come out. It turned out he had something to rely on. He would not be a match for the 3 of them if he only relied on his own strength. However, they would never have thought the young man was actually a level 7 formation master. They knew very well what a level 7 formation master meant. A level 7 formation master could not only fight against 8 opponents but also kill opponents of a higher level. Otherwise, a level 7 formation master would not be a warrior's nemesis. The other party was a tier 7 array master. If they continued fighting, even ghosts knew what the result would be. Thinking of this, the 3 of them did not dare to continue fighting. They immediately prepared to leave. However, before the 3 of them could react, they were already enveloped by the array. Chapter 3093. The 3 high-level ultimate gods frantically attacked the formation around them. The result? The formation did not budge. The 3 of them were exhausted. They were utterly terrified. The 3 of them knew very well that they would not be able to break through the array with just the 3 of them. Longao, what do you want? I want to kill all of you. Longao was not willing to refine corpse slaves or soul slaves. Firstly, he had limited time, and secondly, they were not useful at all. Even if the 3 of them were refined into corpse slaves or soul slaves, they would not be able to kill an emperor god. What was the use? Shameless boasting. So what if you're a level 7 array master? The three of them suppressed the fear in their hearts and continued to deceive themselves. Longao did not want to continue talking nonsense. He wanted to end the battle quickly. It was a piece of cake to deal with a peak ultimate god and 2 high-level ultimate gods after successfully breaking through to the high-level ultimate god realm. After killing the 3 of them, Xiao He immediately began to devour them. Without any hesitation, he began to kill the other groups of ultimate gods. Dusk fell. Apart from Frenzied Devil and the 2 high-level ultimate gods, the other 12 ultimate gods were all killed. However, Longao kept the matter under wraps and no one knew about it. Elder, I have a feeling that something is wrong. It seems like the other party is doing this on purpose. Frenzied Devil gradually felt that something was wrong. However, since things had turned out this way, he could only find the other party before making any further plans. Right at that moment, black silhouettes began rapidly approaching them from every direction. Greatly alarmed, Mad Devil's team of 3 did not dare to be careless. Instead, they began to carefully deal with the situation. Frenzied Devil and the other 2 looked extremely gloomy as they looked at the 12 corpses in front of them. There was no need to ask as they knew what was going on. Even if Longao was an ultimate god, it was impossible for him to kill 12 people in a row within a day. What was going on? Elder, according to rumors, Longao seems to be an array master. TMPH, don't tell me he's a level 7 array master. Even if you beat Crazy Devil to death, he would never have thought that Longao was a grade 7 array master. A level 7 array master. It was obvious what it meant. He didn't want to believe it, and he wouldn't believe it. Elder, there's no way they could have killed our 12 ultimate gods without the help of a formation. Frenzied Devil did not continue speaking. Just as everyone was wondering how Longao had managed to do it. Longao? Looking at the approaching figure, Mad Devil and the other 2 couldn't help doubting Shifeng's words. He arrived in the blink of an eye. The person who came was none other than Longao. The 12 corpses were something that he had purposely left behind. Even if he wasn't a match for the God Emperor, he still wanted to kill the other 2. You are Mad Devil? Longao, I have to admit that you're extremely arrogant. You're indeed capable of killing a peak ultimate god as a high-level ultimate god, but you're too arrogant. Frenzied Devil heaved a sigh of relief when he sensed that his opponent was only a high-level ultimate god. If the 3 of you die as well, I wonder what the Demon Palace's attitude will be. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. The 2 high-level ultimate gods laughed maniacally as though they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Frenzied Devil could not help but laugh. Even if a mere high-level ultimate god was capable of killing a peak ultimate god, he would still die in the face of an emperor god. Frenzied Devil and the other 2 could not figure out what gave Longao such courage. It only took a moment. Longao had already released the level 7-9 heavens and 10 grounds killing formation from his chaotic dantian and enveloped the 3 of them. It was almost impossible to kill an emperor god with the help of the 9 heavens and 10 grounds killing formation. However, Longao did not intend to do that as his main goal was to kill the 2 high-level ultimate gods. In that way, all 15 martial artists and 14 ultimate gods had fallen. A level 7 formation master. Frenzied Devil was completely shocked when he sensed the formation descending from all directions. He never expected that not only was his opponent a level 7 formation master, but he was also capable of making a level 7 formation master move. He knew better than anyone else what it meant to be a level 7 formation master who could arrange a mobile formation. Perhaps no one in the entire chaotic realm could arrange a mobile formation. Although a formation master was not so heaven-defying that he could ignore all martial artists, the biggest reason was that a formation master needed time to arrange a mobile formation. If a formation master could arrange a mobile formation, his or her power would probably skyrocket by dozens of times. It was no wonder his opponent could kill 12 ultimate gods as he was a level 7 formation master. Longao, do you think you can go against me just because you're a level 7 formation master? Ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Frenzied Devil still didn't put his opponent in his eyes. A grade 7 array master was indeed powerful, but his opponent was only a hierarch. If his opponent was an emperor god or a grade 8 array master, he would be able to deal with him easily. When Longao used the formation to envelop the three of them, he had already separated them completely so that he could deal with the other two. After a few minutes, Longao, who had successfully killed 2 high-level ultimate gods, began to deal with Frenzied Devil. Even though he knew it was impossible to kill his opponent with a level 7 formation master, Longao still wanted to try and see how big the gap was between himself and an emperor god. Longao and Xiao Hei began to attack frantically. Frenzied Devil was a mid-level emperor god with his strength. If he was only a primary-level emperor god, he might be able to give Frenzied Devil some trouble. However, it was a different story for a mid-level emperor god. After a few minutes of frenzied attacks, Longao and Xiao Hei chose to give up. Looking at the two people who had fallen, Mad Devil didn't continue to stay. He already had a rough understanding of the other party's strength and reliance. He needed to rush back to Demon City with the fastest speed possible and report Longao's situation. In the main hall of the Demon Palace, Mo Wufeng and the others were not worried at all after hearing Frenzied Devil's report. Instead, they were a little relieved. A high-level ultimate god, even a level 7 formation master, would have a much easier time dealing with Longao now that they knew their enemy. Palace Master, ordinary god emperors wouldn't be able to kill him. After all, he's only a rank 7 array master. Even I wouldn't be able to forcibly break his array. Otherwise, he'd have to leave on his own accord. Crazy Devil didn't continue speaking, but his meaning was clear. Mo Wufeng sneered and said, "Frenzied Devil, I'll send a level 8 formation master. You lure Longao out and leave the rest to him." Chapter 3094. A grade 8 array master could definitely kill a god emperor. He Zishuan, the consecrated elder of the Devil Palace, was not only a grade 8 array master, but also a god emperor. He Zishuan and Crazy Devil Heart left the Devil Palace together. If they still couldn't kill Longao, it would be too embarrassing. Even if Mo Wutian was beaten to death, he would never have thought that Mo Wufeng and the rest would secretly deal with Longao. If they really killed Longao, Mo Wutian would definitely be enraged. Longao's death would completely destroy his hopes of attaining the Tao. It was just that Mo Wufeng didn't know the old ancestor's intentions. If he knew, Mo Wufeng wouldn't have dared to continue attacking even if he was beaten to death. Longao had been paying attention to the Devil Palace. The moment the two left, he already knew. A grade 8 array master of the God Emperor level. Longao was also slightly surprised. After all, he knew very well what a grade 8 array master of the God Emperor level meant. Boss, 2 God Emperors and one of them is a grade 8 array master. What should we do? What could they do? Longao had a helpless look on his face. Even though his cultivation level had risen quickly, it was still not enough. Especially when facing a superpower like the Devil Palace. To be able to casually send out 2 God Emperors and a grade 8 array master, just this foundation alone was enough to show how strong the Devil Palace was. There wasn't much point in staying here. Let's go. Of course, Little Black knew what his boss meant. However, he was still unwilling. If he could devour the power of the 2 God Emperors, he could definitely break through to the pinnacle of the grade 7 realm. By then, he would be able to advance towards the grade 8 realm. However, if 2 God Emperors were to join forces, even if he and his boss joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for them. If they were to forcefully stay, they would lose more than they gained. They might even go for wool and come home shorn. No matter how unwilling they were, they had to leave. Just as Longao and Little Black were about to leave, they realized that the Devil Palace had sealed off all the transfer arrays. It was still the same sentence. The situation in the second sky was completely different from the other sky domains. As long as the Devil Palace gave the order, no one would dare to not seal off the transfer arrays. It was indeed impossible for him to force his way out of this place. After all, to activate the transfer arrays, one had to be from the Devil Palace. What should he do? There was no point in staying any longer. Boss, since you've already reached the high-level Ultimate God Realm, why don't you continue to work hard and try to break through to the peak Ultimate God Realm as soon as possible? We can then find a way to leave the second heavenly territory. How could Longao not know what Blackie meant? Since things had already come to this, he could only stay. All right. In the following period of time, Longao began to cultivate crazily, hoping to break through to peak ultimate god as soon as possible. As for Blackie, he was trying his best to refine the devoured energy in his body. He was hoping to break through to the peak of grade 7 as soon as possible. In that case, he might be able to deal with an Emperor God if he teamed up with Boss. However, it was not an easy task to make a breakthrough from high-level Ultimate God to peak Ultimate God. In any case, good luck did not always appear. Previously, he thought he could only break through from a primary-level Ultimate God to a mid-level Ultimate God. However, he did not expect a sudden burst of chaotic aura from his chaotic Dantian to allow his cultivation to break through from a mid-level Ultimate God to a high-level Ultimate God. Breaking through 2 realms in a row was not something that could happen all the time. After cultivating for 3 days and 3 nights, there was still no sign of a breakthrough. The first heavenly region. The Territorial Lords Alliance. Shi and Kang Hao were already at odds with each other. The entire Territorial Lords Alliance was in internal strife and there were even fights and deaths. God knew what would happen if this continued. Whether it was powerful sects or clans, they were most afraid of internal strife. External forces might be able to fend them off, but internal strife was very likely to destroy them. No one was willing to have internal strife unless it was a last resort. Shi had begun to gradually gain the upper hand, but for some reason, the third group of elders, even those who had chosen to submit to Shi, began to slowly become neutral again. Some elders even began to side with Alliance Master Kang Hao. Shi did not know what was going on, but he knew very well that it would not do him any good if this continued. In the secret chamber, Shi's face was gloomy and as ugly as it could get. Shi could not figure out the reason no matter how hard he racked his brains. Why did he gradually lose the upper hand when he originally had the upper hand? It was not a solution if this continued. First Elder, I've just received news. Speak. The reason why the other elders are helping Kang Hao this time seems to be because of the old Alliance Master. The old Alliance Master? Shi naturally knew what the old Alliance Master meant. Back then, the old Alliance Master was seeking to break through to a higher realm, so he chose to cultivate in seclusion. However, the old Alliance Master was fair and did not directly pass the position of Alliance Master to his son. Kang Hao was also very strong and eventually snatched the position of Alliance Master with his own strength. If the old Alliance Master intervenes in this matter, it will indeed be a little troublesome. Shi could not figure out why the old Alliance Master, who had never interfered in the matters of the Territorial Lords Alliance, would suddenly do this. First Elder, why don't we ask the old ancestor to help? Shaking his head, Shi said coldly, back then, Master went into seclusion to seek a breakthrough. If we disturb him at the crucial moment of his breakthrough, we will be sinners. Shi naturally knew that if his master was willing to come out of seclusion to help him, then even if the old Alliance Master intervened, his chances of winning would still be very high. However, whether it was the old Alliance Master or his master, it was unlikely that they would come out of seclusion. In another place, in the study room, Kang Hao and Kang Han breathed a sigh of relief because the two of them did not expect that the elders who had originally chosen to side with Shi would suddenly change their minds. However, it was still a good thing for them. Big brother, what's going on? I don't know, but there's definitely something fishy about this matter. However, it's a good thing for us. Shi has been suppressed by us, and I believe that he won't be able to do anything in a short period of time. Kang Han did not think so. As long as Shi was alive, danger would continue to exist. The best way to deal with it was to uproot it and eliminate it completely. Only then could they prevent future troubles. Big brother, why don't we use this opportunity to completely eliminate Shi? This way, we won't have to worry about Shi suddenly rising in the future. How could Kang Hao not know what his second brother meant? He sighed deeply and said helplessly, we can't act rashly. Chapter 3095. Big brother, why is that? Kang Han was very curious as to why they could not kill Shi even though things had already turned out this way. Did they really have to wait for Shi to rise and not have the chance to regret it? Kang Hao obviously did not want to say more. The second upper territory. Longao could not sense any signs of a breakthrough and was extremely helpless. He could vaguely sense that he should be able to make a breakthrough from high-level ultimate god to peak ultimate god. He was only one step away but could not take it. Big brother, why don't you try the chaotic dantian again? He shook his head helplessly. I've just broken through to the 7th transformation and can't control my chaotic dantian at all. As for the chaotic aura that erupted previously, I can only rely on luck. If he did it a few more times, it would be easy for him to break through to the peak ultimate god ancestor, let alone peak ultimate god. However, he could not control his chaotic dantian, which was extremely troublesome. Xiao Hei shrugged helplessly. This was truly a troublesome matter. Everything would be solved if their big brother's cultivation could break through to the Emperor God realm. Big brother, why don't you and I go find Sister Shuangshuang? What do you mean? First, Sister Shuangshuang must be in danger if she's alone in that place. Second, although it's dangerous for us to enter the chaotic forbidden land, it's also beneficial for our cultivation. Maybe we can use it to make a breakthrough. Longao lowered his head and began to ponder. He would be lying if he said he was not worried about Shuangshuang's safety. Thinking about it, Xiao Hei's words were not unreasonable. Without danger, there would be no opportunity. Thinking of this, Longao immediately nodded and said, yes, you can't get the tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. He left as soon as he said so. Longao wanted to leave the second upper territory. Although it was a little troublesome, it was not impossible. However, just as Longao was about to leave, the entire second upper territory was spreading the rumor that someone was a coward who did not dare to come out and fight. Although no name was mentioned, many people knew it was a hint to test the waters. Big brother, what's wrong? H, before I leave, I want to meet this level 8 formation master. Xiao Hei was really shocked when he heard his big brother's words. If it was a tier 7 array master, then so be it. However, the other party was a genuine tier 8 array master. How could Big Brother be a match for the other party? It was simply throwing an egg at a rock. Little Black didn't know what was going on with Boss. Why was he so reckless? Let's go. Xiao Hei felt helpless. Boss would not change his mind under normal circumstances. Frenzied Devil and He Zishuan were also helpless. If not for the fact that they had no other choice, they would not have resorted to such a method. He just hoped that Longao would appear. He Zishuan had already set up a level 8 array formation. It was also the most powerful deity-breaking array among level 8 array formations. He Zishuan was fully confident that as long as Longao dared to come, he would be able to kill him in a matter of minutes by relying on the level 8 array formation he had set up. He was only afraid that the other party wouldn't come. However, after thinking about it, he did not harbor much hope. As long as the other party was not out of his mind, there was no way he would come. A level 7 array master against a level 8 array master? It was a complete joke. But what was the result? Looking at the sudden appearance of this young man, be it Frenzied Devil or He Zishuan, both of them were shocked to the extreme. They had not expected that the other party would dare to appear under such circumstances. Was he not afraid of the both of them? That was T. Are you the one who is clamoring for a fight with me? He Zishuan snorted coldly. Since you're a tier 7 array master as well, let's have a fight then. Let's see whose array formation skills are higher. One could not help but admit that He Zishuan was indeed shameless. He was a tier 8 array master while Longao was only a tier 7 array master. To think that a tier 8 array master would want to fight a tier 7 array master. That was just shameless to the extreme. Longao merely smiled, his face filled with mockery. As for He Zishuan, he ignored it entirely. As long as he could kill Longao, shamelessness did not matter anymore. No problem. But what if you lose in a fight with me? I'll lose. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. He Zishuan suddenly burst out laughing maniacally, as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. A mere tier 7 array master, and a godly supremacy at that, actually dared to boast that he would lose. What a joke, the biggest joke in the world. Not only He Zishuan, but even Frenzied Devil, who was standing by the side, found it hilarious. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen such an arrogant person. No wonder Longao was rumored to be a lunatic who was not afraid of anything. Since you guys are afraid, then what's the point of talking? Xiao Hei was also filled with disdain. Looking at his boss beside him, he said, "Boss, let's just leave. So it's just two cowards who are dawdling here. What a waste of our time." Just as Xiao Hei and Longao were about to leave, He Zishuan said, "Longao, if you can defeat me in the formation, I'll kill myself right here, how about that?" If he couldn't even defeat a mere Tier 7 array master, then what was the point of continuing to live? Longao shook his head and laughed, "I'm not interested in your life or death. What do you want?" Crazy Devil didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. He didn't know why, but he had a bad premonition in his heart. Longao seemed a little strange, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. In any case, he just felt that something was wrong. However, he did not believe that Longao could really defeat He Zishuan. That was a complete joke. Others might not know of He Zishuan's strength, but how could he not know? Even if He Zishuan wasn't strong enough, his formation skills were definitely at the pinnacle of level 8. No matter who it was, no one would believe that Longao could defeat He Zishuan. My request is very simple. If I can defeat you in the formation, then you must choose to submit to me. You can't go back on your word. How about that? No problem. He Zishuan didn't even think about it before agreeing. In any case, he didn't think that he would lose to Xiao Hei. Since that was the case, there was no point in agreeing. Longao, enter the formation. As long as you can break my formation, I will submit to you. So what if I choose to submit to you at that time? He Zishuan was full of confidence. Not to mention that the other party was only a 7th level formation master. Even an 8th level formation master of the same level would not be able to break the formation that he had set up. Longao shook his head again and said, "Your formation isn't good enough. Why don't you enter my formation? If you can break my formation, then it'll be my loss. How about that?" Chapter 3096. There was definitely something fishy going on. Frenzied Devil said anxiously, "Brother He, be careful." He Zishuan shook his head and said, "If I can't even break a level 7 array set up by a level 7 array master, then I've wasted all my years." Frenzied Devil couldn't do anything about it. The bad feeling in his heart was getting stronger. If he wasn't confident, Longao wouldn't have dared to do this. "Longao, I'll give you a day to set up the array." In He Zishuan's opinion, even if Longao was a level 7 array master, it would take at least a day for him to set up a level 7 array. But what was the result? Longao shook his head and said, "No need." Before the two of them could react, in the next second, Longao's body suddenly erupted with an aura that instantly descended. It was a level 7 array, the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. "You can move the array." Seeing the level 7 array, He Zishuan was completely shocked. Of course, he knew what it meant to be able to move the array. Although an array master could fight against 8 opponents and even kill those of a higher level, there was a fatal weakness. An array master couldn't move the array and could only set it up on the spot. Even so, what could he do? If Longao was a level 8 array master, he might be afraid. However, he was only a level 7 array master and couldn't be compared to a level 8 array master. Frenzied Devil was completely stunned when he felt the level 7 array descending. The bad feeling was getting worse. Could it be that Lin Fan would really win? However, Frenzied Devil didn't say anything. He knew He Zishuan's temper very well. As a level 8 array master, if he was afraid of a level 7 array master, it would be embarrassing if this matter spread out. "You can enter after 2 hours. At that time, we'll see who wins and who loses based on our abilities." "Okay." Longao and Blackie turned and entered the array. He had to continue increasing the power of the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. Otherwise, he wouldn't be Lin Fan's match with the current power of the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. There was no doubt about that. "Brother He, are you confident? What do you think?" He Zishuan looked at the Tier 7 array master in front of him with a face full of confidence. He smiled and said, "I won't kill him. This person can actually set up a movement array formation. If only I had this kind of secret array formation. It was hard to imagine that if he could set up a mobile formation, no one below the God Ancestor realm would be his match. At that time, even a God Ancestor might not be able to do anything to him. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't wait to kill the other party and obtain the secret technique of the movement formation. Inside the array. Boss, what do you want to do? Until now, Little Black was still very curious. He didn't know what Boss wanted to do. After all, the other party was an 8th grade array master. His strength and array formation skills were obvious. With Boss's array formation skills, he was no match for the other party. However, Little Black also knew that if she wasn't completely confident, she wouldn't have done this so casually. This was what Longao was really curious about. Longao smiled and said, "If I can subdue a God Emperor warrior who is an 8th grade array master, it's not a bad thing." Looking at the array around him, Longao certainly knew that with the current power of the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array, it was impossible to deal with Hizishuan. However, he needed Hizishuan's help. Therefore, he had to win this battle. This was without a doubt. Little Black, I'm going to use my essence blood to increase the power of the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array. Only in this way can we deal with Hizishuan. Ah! Little Black finally understood why Boss was so confident that he could deal with a 8th grade array master. Using essence blood to increase the power of a 7th grade array could indeed increase its power instantly. However, it would be a great loss to Boss. Boss. Longao waved his hand. Of course, he knew what Little Black wanted to say. I've only just comprehended this secret technique. I'm afraid there's no other person in the entire chaotic realm who knows this secret technique. If I hadn't awakened my primordial spirit, I might not have been able to do it. However, now, Longao smiled confidently and said, I've already refined the corresponding elixir. Give me a drop of your essence blood. I'm confident that I can defeat Hizishuan in the shortest time possible. If it was a competition of strength, Longao wouldn't be reckless at all. After all, he wasn't a match for an God Emperor at all. However, if it was a competition of arrays, even if the other party was an 8th grade array master, he was still very confident. However, even he wasn't confident that there would be any backlash from forcefully using his essence blood to increase the array. Since things had already come to this, Little Black didn't say anything more. He immediately forced out 3 drops of essence blood from his body. If it had been anyone else, it would have been almost impossible for them to obtain Little Black's essence blood. However, Boss was the only one Little Black could get as much as he wanted without hesitation. Little Black, enter the chaotic Dantian first. Okay. Little Black knew nothing about arrays. Therefore, there wasn't much point in remaining here. He turned into a ball of light and instantly entered Longao's Dantian. 2 hours later, Longao walked out of the array and made an inviting gesture. He smiled and said, please. Okay. Without any hesitation, Hizishuan directly entered the array. Even if his opponent could set up a movement array, he was still only a 7th grade array master. He couldn't be compared to him at all. If he still couldn't kill his opponent, then he would have lived in vain. Sir, are you not going to enter? Longao said mockingly as he looked at Mad Devil Heart. He was very interested in Hizishuan, but he wasn't interested in this so-called Mad Devil Heart at all. If he had the chance, he would definitely kill Mad Devil Heart without mercy. If it had been before, Mad Devil Heart would have definitely chosen to enter without hesitation. After all, he had the protection of an 8th grade array master. He didn't need to fear Longao at all. However, the situation now was completely different. He didn't know why, but he had a bad premonition in his heart. In order to be safe, he ultimately chose not to enter the array. Seeing that Mad Devil Heart didn't speak, Longao had already guessed that Mad Devil Heart definitely didn't dare to enter the array he had set up. He said mockingly, a God Emperor expert is only SOSO. Really? Without saying anything else, Longao turned and entered the array as well, leaving behind a gloomy Mad Devil Heart. However, even so, he still didn't intend to enter. If an accident really happened, he would be able to deal with it. He wouldn't die in the array with Hizishuan. Chapter 3097. Inside the array. A peak 7th level array. It seems that this guy is really not simple. Zishuan also admired Longao. After all, being able to become a peak 7th level array master at such a young age already proved his talent. However, he was too arrogant to provoke the Devil Palace. What a pity. At this moment, just as Zishuan was about to break the array, the situation suddenly changed. The 9 heavens 10 earths killing array was still a 7th level array, but it was suddenly shrouded by a terrifying bloody aura. He was shocked. What's going on? As a level 8 formation master, Zishuan could obviously sense that the power of the formation had suddenly skyrocketed. Although it had not broken through to the level 8 formation, it was on par with level 8 formations, or even greater. Zishuan did not dare to continue hesitating and immediately began to break the array. Under normal circumstances, an 8th level array master could break a 7th level array in a matter of minutes. But the result? No matter how Zishuan tried to break the array, the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array still did not move, as if it ignored him. Zishuan's face suddenly changed. He finally began to realize that something was wrong. No wonder the other party was so fearless. It turned out that he had something to rely on. If that was the case, then this matter was completely troublesome. Would he really lose to a 7th level array master? If that was the case, he would rather commit suicide than submit to the other party. However, he was a man of his words. Since he had already made a promise, he would definitely fulfill it if he lost. That was why he had to win. He absolutely could not lose. Not daring to be careless, Zishuan continued to break the array. He had no clue. What's going on? Zishuan, even if you're an 8th level array master, you can forget about breaking the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. You'd better obediently submit to me. T, with just you. Even so, Zishuan still did not take the other party seriously. It was a complete joke. A 7th level array master was a 7th level array master. No matter how powerful a 7th level array was, it was still a 7th level array. As an 8th level array master, how could he not be able to break a 7th level array? Unless it was an ancient array. It was passed down from generation to generation. Among all the formations, there were many formations. Although their levels were very high, their power was very terrifying. Could it be that this 7th level formation that Longao had arranged was an ancient formation? If that was the case, it would indeed be very troublesome. Longao didn't want to waste any more time. After all, he didn't know what kind of backlash he would suffer if he forcefully used his blood essence to upgrade the level of the array. He had to end the battle quickly. The 9 heavens 10 earths slaughtering array began to jump levels, directly rising from the 7th level to the 8th level. Not only that, the endless sea of blood within the formation began to crazily suppress him. Catcher, catcher, catcher. Under the continuous suppression, Zishuan began to be unable to withstand it in just a few minutes. Longao was probably the only person in the entire chaotic realm who could use his blood essence to forcefully raise the level and power of an array formation. Just think about it and you know what this means. I admit defeat. Hearing that Zishuan and the others had admitted defeat, Longao finally breathed a sigh of relief. He had overestimated the power of the blood essence to upgrade the level of the array formation. A 8th level array master was indeed a super existence above a 7th level array master. It was impossible to completely suppress the other party just by relying on the blood essence to upgrade the power of the array formation. However, Longao already had a rough idea of what Zishuan meant. The other party was a dignified 8th level array master, but he couldn't even break the 7th level array formation that he had set up. Thinking about it, he knew how disheartened he was. In fact, Zishuan had encountered him. If it were other 7th level array masters, they probably wouldn't even be able to withstand a few moves. Inside the array formation, looking at Zishuan in front of him, Longao didn't speak. He just watched quietly. Time passed by bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, Zishuan sighed deeply and said helplessly, "Longao, you've won. From now on, I'm your subordinate. If you have any orders, feel free to tell me." Longao was very clear about the other party's character. This was also the real reason why he wanted to subdue him. He was pleasantly surprised and said, "Help me out of the trouble outside." Nodding. He Zishuan didn't say any more nonsense and immediately turned to leave the array formation. In fact, he was very clear that the other party was definitely testing him. Since he had already chosen to submit, he Zishuan wasn't a wishy-washy person. Outside the array formation, Frenzied Devil felt a little troubled, as if something was about to happen. However, after thinking about it, he felt that he was being a little too nonsensical. No matter what, he Zishuan was an 8th level array master, while the other party was only a 7th level array master. How could an 8th level array master lose to a 7th level array master? At this time, he Zishuan walked out of the array formation. Seeing he Zishuan in front of him, Frenzied Devil breathed a sigh of relief. "Brother He, congratulations on successfully killing Longao. This time, we can finally report back to our superiors." Frenzied Devil was pleasantly surprised. Although he hadn't personally killed Longao, this matter was still related to him. Putting aside the fact that this person had caused chaos in the Devil Palace, if the two of them were to bring back Longao's corpse, it was obvious what it would mean. They would be able to hold their heads high and even receive the attention of the Devil Palace. Just thinking about it made them excited. However, he Zishuan didn't say anything. He only coldly looked at Frenzied Devil. There was something wrong with his aura. "Brother He, what's wrong?" Frenzied Devil was no fool. He also sensed that something was wrong with he Zishuan. However, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have thought that he Zishuan would lose to Longao and really submit to Longao. After all, he Zishuan hadn't made a primordial spirit oath. Even if he went back on his word, he believed that Longao wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Since that was the case, Frenzied Devil really couldn't figure out what was going on with he Zishuan. "Brother He Zishuan didn't want to waste any more words. With a single step, he shot towards Frenzied Devil. He Zishuan was already a peak God Emperor, but Frenzied Devil was only a mid-level God Emperor. The difference between the two of them was huge. They weren't even on the same level. He Zishuan, are you crazy? If Frenzied Devil still couldn't guess what he Zishuan was trying to do, he would really be an idiot. His face was filled with disbelief as he roared furiously, "He Zishuan, you should know what it means to betray the Devil Palace. Let me give you a word of advice. It's not too late to turn back now. Otherwise, it won't be enough even if you regret it." Frenzied Devil was completely terrified. He knew better than anyone else what it meant to be strong. Chapter 3098. He had chosen to submit. This meant that he Zishuan was no longer a member of the Devil Palace. In just a few short minutes, Frenzied Devil was killed by he Zishuan in a state of extreme unwillingness. Longao wouldn't give up the primordial spirit of a God Emperor so easily and let Little Black devour it. "Do you believe me now? I've never doubted you." He Zishuan certainly wouldn't believe Longao's words, but he wouldn't regret it since things had already come to this. "Longao, I'd like to ask, what's the matter with your movement array?" This was what he Zishuan was most curious about. As a formation master, he believed that no matter who it was, they would have a great interest in moving formations. Longao wouldn't hide it if it was some other secret technique. However, even if he wanted to teach it to he Zishuan wouldn't be able to set up the movement array. "Brother He, to be honest, the reason why I can move the array is entirely because of a spatial artifact in my body." Speaking up to here, Longao did not continue speaking, but the meaning of his words was already very clear. He Zishuan tactfully didn't continue to ask. "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going to a place, and you're going to the first sky. I'll naturally look for you when I return." "All right." Longao didn't plan to continue staying in the second sky because it was meaningless. Both of them had entered the primal chaos forbidden land, and no one knew what would happen to them. It was better to be safe than sorry. If something happened to Shuang, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. The two of them split up and soon left the teleportation array. If Longao was alone, it would be very troublesome to leave the second sky. However, the situation was completely different now. He Zishuan's position in the Devil Palace was very high, so with he Zishuan's help, the two of them could leave the second sky in a matter of minutes. On the third day, the people of the Devil Palace found the corpses of Frenzied Devil and the others. This was done deliberately by Longao to let the people of the Devil Palace know that he killed Frenzied Devil. As for He Zishuan betraying the Devil Palace and becoming one of them, it wasn't leaked. The Devil Palace still didn't know about this. From the Devil Palace's point of view, since Mad Devil Heart was dead, there was no doubt that He Zishuan's fate was grim. Shock. He was more shocked than angry. Putting aside Crazy Devil Heart first, just He Zishuan, not only was he a peak Divine Emperor, he was also a level 8 Array Master. Even such a powerhouse was still killed by Longao. What did this mean? In the main hall, none of the elders dared to vent their anger. They all looked at the palace master who was sitting at the head of the table. Everyone knew very well how the palace master was feeling after something like this happened. He felt helpless. Encountering such a lunatic was the Devil Palace's misfortune. In the end, it was the Great Elder who said, "Palace Master, it seems like Longao isn't simple. Not only him, but he also has another expert by his side. Ordinary Emperor God martial artists wouldn't be able to deal with him." The Great Elder had made it clear that there was only one way to deal with Longao, and that was to send out God Ancestor warriors. God Ancestor warriors weren't comparable to Emperor God martial artists. No matter if it was the Devil Palace or the Domain Lord Alliance, or even the Pill Hall, God Ancestor warriors were all high and mighty existences. Even the three super forces didn't have many God Ancestors. It was unbelievable that they had to send out God Ancestor warriors to deal with Longao. However, if they didn't send out God Ancestor warriors, they wouldn't be able to kill Longao. If this continued, who knew what would happen? Longao's talent and potential were there for all to see. If they didn't get rid of him as soon as possible, once he grew stronger in the future, even God Ancestor warriors wouldn't be able to suppress him. In order to successfully kill him, it was necessary to send out God Ancestor warriors. Right at this moment. All of you can leave now. The elders were very curious. They didn't know why the palace master asked them to leave. The most important thing now was to discuss how to deal with Longao. However, since the palace master had said so, no one stayed. They turned around and left one by one. In a short while, all the elders had left. In the next second, Old Ancestor. Looking at the Old Ancestor who had suddenly appeared, Mo Wufeng bowed respectfully. He was very curious. He didn't know why the Old Ancestor had suddenly returned. Was it because of Longao? It was just as Mo Wufeng had guessed. Mo Wutian's face was very gloomy. "Pa." He slapped Mo Wufeng's face. This slap completely stunned Mo Wufeng. He didn't know what the Old Ancestor was doing. He was the palace master of the Devil Palace and a chaotic realm warrior. How could he be slapped by the Old Ancestor? If it was anyone else, Mo Wufeng would have attacked long ago. However, the person who slapped him was the Old Ancestor. He covered his face and didn't dare to say a word. "Before I left, didn't I warn you not to deal with Longao?" Indeed, it was because of Longao. Mo Wufeng had never imagined that the Old Ancestor would value Longao so much. However, he could clearly sense that the relationship between the Old Ancestor and Longao was definitely that of an enemy. If that was the case, why did the Old Ancestor have to do this? As if he could guess what Mo Wufeng was thinking, Mo Wutian let out a deep sigh in his heart. Amongst the many younger generation members, Mo Wufeng was the one he valued the most. Otherwise, he would have killed the latter without any hesitation after this incident. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Mo Wutian said helplessly, "I know what you're thinking. However, you must remember that Longao is the key to my Dao. Do not casually attack him. If you dare to spoil my plans." Mo Wufeng was shocked. Mo Wufeng had never imagined that Longao was the key to the Old Ancestor's Dao. If he had known, he wouldn't have attacked Longao even if he was beaten to death. Fortunately, Longao was fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to do anything even if he died 10,000 times. Others might not know, but how could he not know what Dao validation meant to the Old Ancestor? If the Old Ancestor could succeed in his Dao validation, he would be the #1 person in the Chaos world. At that time, Even the Devil Palace would become the #1 power in the Chaos world. The rest of the Domain Lords Alliance and the Pill Hall would have to step aside. Old ancestor, I was wrong. That's enough. It's impossible for you guys to kill Longao alone. Mo Wutian was too nervous. He knew Longao's abilities very well. If he could be killed so easily, he wouldn't be the super genius who created the 9 Revolutions Chaos world. Chapter 3099. Old ancestor, what should we do now? Bide our time and observe the situation. Since the old ancestor had said so, Mo Wufeng did not say anything more. After leaving the Second Sky region, Longao rushed to his destination at the fastest speed. There were many forbidden grounds in the chaotic world. The place that Qin Shuangshuang entered was one of the forbidden grounds. The forbidden ground was called the God Forbidden Ground. Not to mention the current Longao, even when he was at his peak, Longao and the rest did not dare to step into the God Forbidden Ground casually. Qin Shuangshuang had no choice but to step into one of the forbidden grounds in the chaotic world, the God Forbidden Ground. Within the God Forbidden Ground, boss, I heard that you've entered the God Forbidden Ground before. What is this place? Xiao He had never stepped in before, so he knew nothing about the God Forbidden Ground. However, the God Forbidden Ground was famous. Among all the forbidden grounds, it was definitely ranked in the top 5. Back then, I stepped into the God Forbidden Ground by accident. I just walked around outside. Xiao He had a lingering fear. Back then, I guessed that the God Forbidden Ground might have been created. But I can't guarantee if it's true. Huh! Xiao He was shocked when he heard his boss's words. He knew better than anyone else what the God Forbidden Ground meant. Was it possible for someone to create it? That was bullsh*t. However, Little Black was very clear that boss wouldn't casually say it if he wasn't completely confident. If that was the case, then this matter was really inconceivable. Boss, the God Forbidden Ground is boundless. Where are we going to find Sister Shuangshuang? This was what Longao felt the most helpless about. The God Forbidden Ground was way too big. Even when he was at his peak, he did not dare to enter. It was not an easy task to locate Sister Shuangshuang in the God Forbidden Ground. Xiao He, why don't you enter the chaotic Dantian first? Xiao He knew what his boss meant. He nodded his head and turned into a ball of light, entering the chaotic Dantian. After entering the God Forbidden Ground, Longao became cautious. He was on full alert and took every step carefully. Where was Shuangshuang? The longer he delayed, the more worried he was about Shuangshuang's safety. Somewhere in the God Forbidden Ground, Qin Shuangshuang's face was very pale. Although she had successfully escaped the pursuit of a man and a beast, she had suffered heavy injuries. Left with no other choice, he could only enter the divine restriction. Qin Shuangshuang knew very well that if nothing unexpected happened to her this time, she would most likely die in the primal chaos forbidden land. As for his memories of Longao, he still hadn't recovered. Qin Shuangshuang's memory seemed to be imprisoned. No one knew when she would be able to remember. Do I have to be reincarnated again? Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one was willing to enter the cycle of reincarnation. This was because no one could guarantee that once they entered the cycle of reincarnation, they would be able to reincarnate and awaken their primordial spirit. He felt helpless. If he didn't want to enter the cycle of reincarnation, he'd have to leave the Forbidden Zone. But once he did, Wu Tianmo and Judas would hunt him down. What should he do? Qin Shuangshuang's injuries were getting more and more serious. At this moment, a series of kai sounds came from all around her. Before Qin Shuangshuang could react, countless small black figures had slowly appeared around her. God Devourer snakes. Qin Shuangshuang's face grew darker and darker as she looked at the countless black snakes around her. Of course she knew what a God Devourer snake represented. If she were at her peak, she wouldn't be afraid of them. But now the situation was completely different. God Devourer snakes were a branch of the Dragon Clan. They possessed the blood of the Dragon Clan and were very powerful. They were also spiritual beasts that lived in groups. Even a Chaos Realm cultivator could imagine the consequences of encountering such a large number of God Devourer snakes. Qin Shuangshuang had thought that entering the forbidden zone would allow her to temporarily resist the pursuit of a man and a beast. She never imagined that she would encounter such a large group of god-devourer snakes. Was she destined to die here? But Qin Shuangshuang didn't choose to give up. At this moment, the countless god-devourer snakes all around her began to attack. Qin Shuangshuang jumped in fright and began to use all her strength to block the attacks. But in her current state, it was impossible for Qin Shuangshuang to withstand the attacks of the god-devourer snakes. Gradually, Qin Shuangshuang was beginning to lose ground. If this continued, she would be swallowed by the god-devourer snakes. What should she do? Just as Qin Shuangshuang was about to lose ground, a figure came quickly. In the blink of an eye, an axe shadow swept through the surrounding god-devourer snakes like lightning. Even so, Longao wanted to defend against the countless god-devourer snakes with his own strength. It was a little unrealistic. You again? Of course, Qin Shuangshuang did not recognize Longao. Previously, in order to not forget Longao, Qin Shuangshuang chose to seal the memories between her and Longao. So until now, Qin Shuangshuang still did not recognize Longao. It didn't matter if they didn't know each other, but Longao couldn't let anything happen to Qin Shuangshuang. Looking at the endless number of god-devouring snakes, he felt a lingering fear. If he had come late, he could imagine what would have happened. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. Without a word, he pulled Qin Shuangshuang into his chaotic dantian. Even if the god-devourer snakes were extremely powerful, it was almost impossible for them to destroy his chaotic dantian. Longao had full confidence in his chaotic dantian. Inside his chaotic dantian. Who are you? Why did you save me? Why did you appear in the divine prohibition? The other party was only a small hierarch warrior, but he could enter the divine prohibition and bring her to this space. This kind of remarkable ability was something even a chaotic realm warrior could not do. Because of this, Qin Shuangshuang was very curious about who the other party was. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Xiao Hei said at this time, "Sister Shuangshuang, don't you recognize me and Boss? Boss is your husband. Shut up, if you dare to speak nonsense again, I'll kill you." Qin Shuangshuang was very curious. She did not know how the other party knew her name. Listening to the divine beast's words, it seemed that he knew her very well. However, Qin Shuangshuang still could not accept that he dared to say such things. But deep in her heart, she felt a sense of familiarity with this person. What was going on? Suddenly, Qin Shuangshuang felt a splitting headache, as if she was about to be torn apart. Longao was very worried and impatiently asked, "Shuangshuang, what's wrong? Don't worry about it, I have nothing to do with you. I want to leave here." "You can't leave here for now, there are god-devourer snakes outside." Before Longao could finish, Qin Shuangshuang had already interrupted and said, "My life and death has nothing to do with you." Chapter 3100. There was nothing he could do. Shuangshuang's inability to remember him was troublesome. Not even Longao could do anything about it. Shuangshuang's memories had been sealed by him, so only Shuangshuang herself could recover them. Aside from Shuangshuang herself, no one else could help. "Shuangshuang, Judas, and Wu Tianmo will no longer pursue you." Huh? What did that mean? Qin Shuangshuang knew full well what Judas and Wu Tianmo meant. They were the most powerful beings in the realm of chaos. How could a mere godly venerable rank warrior intimidate a human and a beast? What was going on? Who are you? Qin Shuangshuang was beginning to realize that this young man was no ordinary man. His ability to intimidate them and even recognize her was enough to explain everything. "Blackie told me, but you didn't believe me. I am your husband. You forced yourself into the cycle of reincarnation to save me and sealed our memories." Wait. Qin Shuangshuang's expression softened. Her intuition told her that this man and beast were not lying. "Tell me." Longao's heart leapt with joy. He quickly recounted what had happened. Could it be that what he said was true? Qin Shuangshuang still didn't quite believe him. Even if she did, she couldn't accept Longao's offer. She had to undo the seal and release her memories. Qin Shuangshuang didn't speak. Longao didn't say anything either. Silence. "I still can't believe you, But I accept your help. No problem. If Qin Shuangxuang could accept his help, then it would be a blessing in disguise. The God-Eater serpent outside knew what this meant. If Qin Shuangxuang left alone, she wouldn't be able to withstand the serpent's attack. Fortunately, both Qin Shuangxuang and Blackie could remain in his chaotic dantian forever. How did you do it? Longao knew what Qin Shuangxuang was asking. He thought for a moment, then said, 10,000 years later, I will help him prove his Tao. Prove his Tao? Prove the great Tao of chaos? Qin Shuangxuang was shocked. Of course, she knew what Longao meant by Tao validation. However, throughout the entire chaotic realm, none of the chaotic samsara warriors had succeeded in Tao validation. Otherwise, these so-called peak existences of the chaotic realm would not have to take the risk of not being able to awaken their primordial spirits and choose to enter samsara to search for the last chance. You! Longao smiled. If it were anyone else who dared to question him like this, even if he did not teach them a lesson, he would have chosen to leave. Only Shuangxuang and Longao smiled. If it weren't for the two of them risking their lives to save him back then, he believed that he would be completely dead by now. She was grateful to Shuangxuang. Shuangxuang, what's your current strength? Primal Chaos Realm. As expected. Longao had already guessed that although Shuangxuang had awakened her soul, her strength had not recovered to its peak. Her situation was not much different from Nangong Yin and the others. What should we do now? Qin Shuangxuang had already made up her mind. Since Wu Tianmo and Judas were no longer pursuing her, there was no point in remaining in the Forbidden Zone. She might as well leave as soon as possible. No matter what, she needed to return to her peak strength in the shortest time possible. The number of God-devouring snakes is too great. Not to mention you and me, even a Chaos Samsara warrior would not be able to contend against such a large number of God-devouring snakes. The primal chaos reincarnation realm cultivators were considered to be at the pinnacle of martial arts. Almost no one could defeat them. However, in the primal chaos realm, there were still many spiritual beasts that even primal chaos reincarnation realm cultivators could not contend with. If it were just one God-Eater snake, a chaotic samsara warrior, or even a God King, would be able to deal with it in a matter of minutes. But an entire pack was a different matter. Longao's face was solemn. If they were to rush out like this, he knew what it would mean. He took a deep breath. You stay here. Blackie and I will go take a look. All right. Without waiting for Qin Shuangxuang to say anything, Xiao He and Longao had already left quickly. Xiao He couldn't wait any longer. Although he couldn't fight against the entire group of god-devouring snakes, he could still forcefully devour as much as he could. In that case, it would also bring endless benefits to his cultivation. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could Blackie give it up so easily? It was because he understood Blackie's intentions that Longao was willing to take the risk. With his chaotic dantian, he and Blackie could enter whenever they wanted. No matter how powerful the God-Eater snakes were, it would be impossible for them to destroy the two of them. As soon as the two of them appeared, Little Black began to crazily attack them. Countless god-devouring snakes around them were like moths to a flame. They began to attack crazily. In just a few short seconds, Longao and Little Black began to gradually lose their resistance. In the end, the two of them still underestimated the strength of the god-devouring snakes. The God-Eater snakes were strong enough to destroy a chaotic samsara warrior. Blackie, let's go. Blackie didn't dare to continue devouring. If he did, he might even lose his life. Just as Longao and Blackie were about to enter the chaotic dantian, the situation suddenly changed. The surrounding airflow began to wildly revolve. Sensing that Longao couldn't enter the chaotic dantian, his expression changed. The God-Eater snakes conceal the space here. I can't enter the chaotic dantian. We're in trouble now. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have entered the chaotic dantian. But now, there was no time for regret. Blackie also knew what it meant to not be able to enter the chaotic dantian. If he couldn't escape, he could imagine the consequences. Blackie and Longao didn't dare to be careless. Since they couldn't enter the chaotic dantian, they had to leave this place as quickly as possible. However, Longao was relieved. If Qin Shuangshuang had left the chaotic Dantian and appeared here, the three of them wouldn't have been able to escape. If the two of them wanted to escape, it was simply a fool's dream. After all, the number of god-eater snakes was too large. At a glance, they were everywhere. The densely packed snakes made one's scalp tingle. Even Longao and Blackie felt a deep sense of despair. No wonder the God-forbidden area was known as one of the chaotic forbidden areas. Such dangers were everywhere. No wonder so few people stepped into the God-forbidden area. Even Nangong Yin and the others didn't dare to casually step in. Chapter 3101. Countless god-devouring snakes were attacking Longao in a frenzy. Wave after wave, it was like a torrential downpour. Longao and Little Black were starting to find it hard to hold on. If this were to continue, be it Longao or Little Black, they would definitely be devoured by the god-devouring snakes. They couldn't let this continue. What should they do? Boss, I'll help you carve out a path of blood. You rush out. How could Longao not know what Little Black was trying to say? But could he agree to it? If he were to agree to it, would he still be human? Little Black, don't spout nonsense. If we leave together. If we stay together. Longao knew that the situation was dire. He couldn't let this continue. But there were simply too many god-devouring snakes around. Even if he were to exhaust them to death, he couldn't possibly wipe them out completely. Just then, Longao started to set up a new formation. Because he couldn't communicate with his chaotic Dantian, Longao couldn't release the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation. The only thing he could do now was to borrow the power of the formation. A strong formation wouldn't do. It would take way too long. He could only set up some low-level formations to deal with the situation first. By now, Longao was already a level 7 formation master. Other than the time required to set up level 7 formations, setting up level 6 formations and anything below was just a matter of minutes. 1 formation. 2 formations. While defending against the frenzied attacks of the god-devouring snakes, Lin Fan set up the formations. In just tens of minutes, hundreds of formations had surrounded them. Looking at the hundreds of formations finally fending off the attacks of the god-devouring snakes, both Little Black and Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Let's go. In the next second, both of them had successfully entered his chaotic Dantian. Thinking about it now, they could feel the lingering fear. If not for the fact that they could set up the formations instantly, the consequences would be unimaginable. What a scary god-devouring snakes. What's wrong with you guys? I'm fine. Little Black and Longao kept their mouths shut. They didn't tell Qin Shuangshuang what had just happened. But Longao's heart was heavy. The god-eating snakes were outside. It was almost impossible to leave. Longao, thank you for your help. I want to leave this place. There are god-devouring snakes outside. The situation outside was very serious. Not to mention the fact that Shuangshuang was heavily injured. Even if she was at her peak, she might not be able to resist the god-devouring snakes outside. If Shuangshuang went out like this, it was obvious what the consequences would be. Right at this moment, Little Black seemed to have thought of something. He said impatiently, "Big brother, I have an idea. If nothing goes wrong, we should be able to stop the god-devouring snakes." Hearing Blackie's words, Longao was overjoyed. What is it? Boss, the god-devouring snake is a branch of the dragon clan. Not only did your chaos axe fuse with my blood essence, it even fused with the 9-headed dragon python's blood essence. Little Black didn't continue speaking. But the meaning of his words was clear. Longao wasn't a fool. He understood what Little Black meant. Since the god-devouring snakes were a branch of the dragon clan and the 9-headed dragon python was the ancestor of the dragon clan, if he used the chaos axe, he knew what would happen. He did as he said. This time, Longao held the chaos axe in his hand. In the next second, his entire body disappeared into the chaos Dantian. Outside, hundreds of arrays had been completely destroyed by the countless god-devouring snakes. Just as Longao appeared, the chaos axe in his hand was already wildly hacking at the surrounding god-devouring snakes. The chaos axe had already fused with the 9-headed dragon python's blood essence. So it had the power of the 9-headed dragon python. The god-devouring snakes that were preparing to attack suddenly felt the pressure of their ancestors' aura. They were immediately shocked and began to slowly retreat. In the blink of an eye, countless god-devouring snakes had disappeared without a trace. It was effective. A second later, Little Black and Qin Shuangxuang appeared. Qin Shuangxuang's voice was cold. "Thank you for your help. I need to leave the Forbidden Zone. If what you say is true, then I will come looking for you. But only if you don't come looking for me again." Qin Shuangxuang wanted to believe him, but she couldn't. She still hadn't unlocked her memories, so she couldn't do anything. As for who he was, that would have to wait until her own memories were unlocked. Things had already come to this. Longao didn't want to give up, but he had no choice but to agree. He knew in his heart that until Shuangxuang's memories were restored, the more he spoke, the more mistakes he would make. So the less he spoke, the less he spoke. If this were before, Longao wouldn't feel at ease. But now that Wu Tianmo and Judas were no longer targeting Shuangxuang, even if she left the Forbidden Zone she should be fine. Seeing Shuangxuang turn and leave, Little Black spoke in a depressed voice. "Boss, why didn't you help Shuangxuang recover her memories? You can't go on like this." Longao knew what Little Black meant. Shuangxuang's relationship with him was known by all the Chaos Samsara warriors. If more Wu Tianmo and Judas appeared, then Shuangxuang would be in grave danger. But things had already come to this, and there was nothing he could do. With a deep sigh, Longao said helplessly, "Little Black, Shuangxuang sealed her memories. I can't do it alone. My guess is that if she wants to recover her memories, not only will she need to improve her strength, but she will also need to rely on luck. If I continue to follow her, then it will be counterproductive. Then what should we do now? We don't have much time to improve our strength. Without Wu Tianmo and Judas' threat, Shuangxuang will be fine for at least 10,000 years. We have to stay here." Currently, Longao and Blackie were both hierarch martial artists. If they could improve further, they could break through from hierarch martial artists to Emperor God Realm. It was easy to think about it, but it was difficult to do it. They had successfully broken through to the high-level Ultimate God Realm. Their next task was to break through to the peak Ultimate God Realm as quickly as possible. Only then could they break through to the Emperor God Realm. "Boss, the God-Eater snakes are very strong. You have the Chaos Axe to deter them. Why don't you let me continue to devour them? Maybe I can break through to the 8th level in the shortest time possible." Little Black couldn't wait to break through to the 8th level. Longao knew what Little Black meant. He had the same idea. After all, the God-Eater snakes were perfect for Little Black to devour. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and he couldn't afford to miss it. Chapter 3102. Longao and Blackie followed the scent left behind by the God-Devourer snakes. As expected. In an extremely gloomy valley, they found the nest of the God-Devourer snakes. "Boss, what should we do?" "I'll use the Chaos Axe to deter the God-Devourer snakes while you devour them. Remember, we only have half an hour." "Boss, I understand." Blackie understood what his boss meant. Even with the Chaos Axe's suppression, they could only hold on for half an hour. Otherwise, not only would they not be able to continue devouring, they would also be devoured by the God-Devourer snakes. The consequences would be unimaginable. In the valley, countless God-Devourer snakes were resting in the valley. At this moment, Longao and Blackie both descended. Longao held the Chaos Axe in his hand and released a terrifying aura that enveloped the entire valley. The Chaos Axe was fused with the 9-headed dragon python's blood essence, so its aura contained the 9-headed dragon python's deterrence. The countless God-Devourer snakes that were about to attack suddenly sensed the aura and lay on the ground, not daring to move. Blackie, on the other hand, didn't hesitate and immediately started devouring. Devouring madly. Blackie's speed increased to the extreme because he knew that if he wanted to break through to the 8th level, he had to devour more God-Devourer snakes. The more God-Devourer snakes he devoured, the more chances he had. At first, the countless God-Devourer snakes didn't dare to resist. After all, the 9-headed dragon python was the ancestor of the dragon clan. Just the aura of the nine-headed dragon python's blood essence was not something the nine-headed dragon python could resist. But as time passed, the countless god-devourer snakes began to react. It turned out to be a fox using the tiger's might. Resisting the pressure of the aura, countless god-devourer snakes began to attack Longao. But they were afraid of the chaos axe in Longao's hand, so they didn't dare to attack Longao. How could Longao allow the god-devourer snakes to attack Blackie? He immediately turned into a black shadow and began to circle around Blackie, helping Blackie block the attacks. Just like that, Blackie continued to devour the god-devourer snakes around him. One by one, he continued to devour. Half an hour later, Longao had already set up hundreds of spell formations to block the attacks of the god-devouring snakes. At this time, Longao brought Xiao Hei and entered the chaotic Dantian in an instant. Inside the chaotic Dantian, Little Black, how do you feel? Of course, Longao knew what it meant for Little Hei to break through to LV8. Once Xiao Hei broke through to the level 8 Divine Emperor realm, he would be able to easily devour mid-Divine Emperors. However, it was not an easy task to break through from the 7th level to the 8th level. Blackie nodded and said, "Boss, this time I devoured tens of thousands of god-devouring snakes. As long as I can refine this energy, then my cultivation will definitely break through to the 8th level." It was a pleasant surprise. Longao was also pleasantly surprised. He immediately said, "For the rest of the time, stay here and refine the energy." "I understand, boss." Of course, Blackie knew what boss meant. The most important thing now was to refine the energy in his body and reach the 8th level as soon as possible. Only then could he help boss. Longao did not provoke the god-devouring snakes anymore. No matter what, he and the nine-headed dragon python could be considered friends. Therefore, unless it was a last resort, he was not willing to destroy the entire god-devouring snake clan. After leaving the valley, Longao did not want to stay in the god-forbidden area any longer. The god-forbidden area was one of the primal chaos-forbidden areas. It was obvious what kind of existence it was. The current him did not need to take the risk to explore the god-forbidden area. The most important thing now was to increase his strength as soon as possible so that he could deal with the situation 10,000 years later. Otherwise, not only himself, but even his family would not be able to escape the calamity 10,000 years later. First Heavenly Region. As soon as Longao arrived, he found Hizishuan. Now, Hizishuan had left the Demon Palace and chose to submit to Longao. Until now, the Demon Palace still did not know about this. "Brother He, your cultivation has broken through to the peak Divine Emperor realm. Try to break through to the God Ancestor realm in the shortest time possible." God Ancestor realm was the strongest existence under the chaotic realm. Of course, Hizishuan knew what Longao meant. However, it was difficult to break through to the God Ancestor realm from the peak Divine Emperor realm. With a helpless face, Hizishuan said helplessly, "It's easier said than done. I've broken through to the peak Divine Emperor realm for more than 100 years, but I still can't find a chance to break through to the God Ancestor realm." Sigh. He sighed deeply. It would be a lie to say that he did not want to break through. Hizishuan was curious. He did not know why Longao asked him this. Could it be that he had a way to help him break through to the God Ancestor realm? That was simply nonsense. "I have a way to help you break through to the God Ancestor realm." Ah! Staring at Longao, Hizishuan still couldn't believe it. Longao said that he could help him break through to the God Ancestor realm. Was that true? Hizishuan could not believe it. He asked, "Do you really have a way?" "Yes, but I need to think about it carefully. But don't worry. I will help you break through to the God Ancestor realm within 3 years." Longao had made up his mind to train Hizishuan. After all, Hizishuan was talented. Not only was he a peak Divine Emperor realm warrior, but he was also a level 8 array master. Once he became a God Ancestor realm warrior, he might be able to become a level 9 array master. At that time, Hizishuan would be able to surpass him. Hizishuan certainly knew that Longao was not fooling him. However, it was a little unbelievable. Even so, Hizishuan still could not believe it. However, He certainly hoped that Longao was telling the truth. If he could really help him break through to the God Ancestor realm, it would be a great surprise. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. Since you have chosen to follow me, I will not let you regret it. I can tell you clearly that the Divine Master realm is not your limit. In the future, you will not only become a God Ancestor, but also break through to the chaotic realm. He Zishuan did not take it seriously. He knew clearly what the chaotic realm meant. It was a legendary existence. There were only a few in the Demon Palace. He was satisfied to break through to the God Ancestor realm. He had never thought that he could become a chaotic warrior. It was simply a pipe dream. Looking at the expression on He Zishuan's face, Longao already knew what the other party was thinking and didn't say much. Sometimes, actions were more convincing than words. Before the facts, no matter how much he said, he believed that the other party wouldn't believe him, so Longao didn't feel the slightest bit unhappy. Chapter 3103. He had successfully broken through to the high-level Ultimate God realm and was only one step away from becoming a peak Ultimate God. He originally wanted to break through to the peak Ultimate God realm in the first heavenly region before leaving. However, Longao could not wait any longer. Yi Detian and Ji Yu Hao had always been troublesome. If it was before, he would definitely not be their match. However, the situation was completely different now. Blackstone Heavenly Region. This time, Longao came aggressively and released his aura as soon as he stepped into Dragon City. Inside the Domain Chief's mansion, the gloomy Yi Detian was thinking of all sorts of ways to deal with Longao. Longao was no longer the same as before. Not only did he dare to openly go against the Domain Lord's alliance, but he even dared to go against the Demon Palace and almost destroyed them. According to the legend, Longao was no longer a divine king martial artist but a genuine ultimate god martial artist. He was most likely a high-level ultimate god martial artist. What did that mean? There was a loud bang. The entire Domain Chief's mansion was instantly destroyed. Yi Detian took advantage of the situation and stepped on the void. He looked at Longao, who suddenly appeared in front of him and had already guessed what his opponent wanted. His face was very gloomy and as ugly as it could get. What he was afraid of really happened. If it was before, he would certainly not be afraid of Longao. He even hoped that Longao would take the initiative to come and save him the trouble of looking for him everywhere. However, the situation was different now. His opponent was no longer the same as before. Even he might not be his opponent. An Emperor God Warrior? Yi Detian's face suddenly changed when he saw the Emperor God Warrior who suddenly appeared beside Longao. He said in disbelief, "Elder He, you should know the consequences of betraying the Demon Palace." Yi Detian belonged to the Domain Lord's alliance and was usually at odds with the Demon Palace. However, now, Yi Detian really could not figure out why the Demon Palace's elders would help Longao. It was because of this that Longao went all out against the Demon Palace and caused them to suffer heavy losses. He really could not figure out the reason. He could not figure it out. He really could not figure it out. Timpi. He just snorted coldly. He Zishuan originally disliked Yi Detian. He could not take action previously because of his identity. If it caused a war between the Domain Lord's alliance and the Demon Palace, he really could not bear the consequences. But now, everything was different now. Even if he killed Yi Detian now, the Domain Lord alliance wouldn't be able to do anything about it. He understood the situation too well, even though he still didn't quite believe it. It was a joke that the Devil Palace didn't dare to deal with someone who had dealt with people from the Devil Palace one after another. Yi Detian, don't you want to avenge your son? I'm standing right in front of you now. I really want to see how you're going to take revenge. Humiliation. It was a great humiliation. The idiot was standing right in front of him, but he didn't dare to move. Yi Detian knew that Longao was doing this on purpose to deal with him. If he had known that this would happen, he would have left the Blackstone Heavenly Region. If he had returned to the Domain Lord's alliance, even if Longao was strong enough, he wouldn't be able to deal with him. What should he do? Longao, what do you want? Before Longao could reply, Yi Detian continued, Longao, as long as you're willing to let me go, all the grudges between us will be written off. I'll even return you a favor in the future. In the face of life and death, even Yi Detian could only choose to compromise. Otherwise, the only path left for him was death. Would Longao agree to it? If he did, he wouldn't be Longao anymore. Laughing coldly, Longao said coldly, Yi Detian, do you think that I'll let you go? Definitely not. There was no doubt about it. If he were to ask himself honestly, he wouldn't have let Yi Detian off so easily either. But of course, Yi Detian wasn't willing to die here. He continued, please let me go. I'm willing to submit to you. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Not only Longao, but even He Zishuan was laughing mockingly. This was the high and mighty elder of the Domain Lords Alliance. In the face of life and death, he was still like a coward. In fact, he was even worse than others. Yi Detian's face darkened. But under such circumstances, as long as he could survive, nothing else mattered. As for his face, that was even less important. Revenge was a dish best served cold. As long as he was alive, there was hope. How could Longao not know what Yi Detian was thinking? He sneered in his heart. Cut the weeds and pull out the roots to prevent future troubles. If he chose to let Yi Detian off so easily, he would definitely have an endless stream of troubles in the future. It was obvious what kind of result he would have. Longao, I'll take my leave. You want to leave? In fact, Longao couldn't even be bothered to take action himself. After handing it over to He Zishuan, he stood at the side and watched the show. For a pinnacle god emperor to deal with a puny god being, that was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. Longao, you can't kill me. If you do, the Domain Lords Alliance will definitely not let you off. Yi Detian was thoroughly frightened. Longao was clearly bent on killing him. If that was the case, would it be possible for him to escape from the clutches of a god emperor? Even if Yi Detian was beaten to death, he would never have thought that he would die here. Regret. He was filled with extreme regret. But it was too late for regrets. He could only watch as he fell and was killed by the god emperor. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Longao laughed coldly. After killing Yi Detian, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. Even though he wasn't afraid of Yi Detian with his current strength, it was better to be safe than sorry. Are we going to deal with Jiyu Hao next? That's right. Jiyu Hao was the Domain Lord of the Thunder Heavenly Region, and was also a member of the Domain Lords Alliance. This time, after leaving the first Heavenly Region, Longao had to deal with two people. The first was Yi Detian, and the second was Jiyu Hao. Forgive me for being blunt, but just for now, we shouldn't deal with Jiyu Hao. Why? Hearing He Zishuan's words, Longao was very curious. He didn't know what the other party meant. Jiyu Hao had just broken through to the God realm. Whether it was him or He Zishuan, any one of them could easily destroy Jiyu Hao. Since that was the case, why would He Zishuan do this? Longao wasn't a fool. Since the other party said this, there must be something fishy going on. I've had a lot of dealings with Jiyu Hao, and I feel that this person is definitely not simple. Even though he's only a God realm warrior, but... Brother He, if you have anything to say, feel free to say it. Actually, I'm not sure about this either. It was a senior from the Devil Palace who told me that Jiyu Hao from the Domain Lords Alliance is most likely a reincarnated person. You should know what I mean. Chapter 3104. Reincarnation? Longao naturally knew the meaning in He Zishuan's words. If that was really the case, then things would be troublesome. Are you confident? He Zishuan nodded his head and said, that senior died in Jiyu Hao's hands. Ah! Even if Longao had already guessed that Jiyu Hao's strength was definitely not ordinary, he never thought that Jiyu Hao's strength would be so strong. To be called a senior by He Zishuan, one would know what that meant. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, He Zishuan said, that senior is a god ancestor martial artist. To be able to kill a god ancestor martial artist, it was obvious what Jiyu Hao's strength meant. He felt helpless in his heart. He had thought that he would be able to smoothly kill Jiyu Hao this time and clean up the sect for his master, but he did not expect that Jiyu Hao would actually be a reincarnation. The reason why Jiyu Hao killed Shenyuan Bubai back then is very likely related to his reincarnation. You mean to say that Shenyuan Bubai's inheritance might be able to suppress Jiyu Hao? That's right. Longao already understood what his Zishuan meant. Yun Qian had obtained the inheritance of power, and as for the Shenyuan sword, it was given to big brother Dongfang. And that was all his master had left for him, other than the heavenly fire. Heavenly fire? His master had left him the 7th-ranked heavenly fire, the burning heart flame lotus. Could it be that if he wanted to suppress Jiyu Hao, he had to rely on the burning heart flame lotus? Longao did not say what he was thinking, as he was not sure if that was the case. Longao was also a reckless person. He actually already knew that Jiyu Hao's identity and strength were not simple, so there was no need for him to make a move at this time. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to kill Jiyu Hao, he would also lose more than he gained. Where are we going now? Thunder Heavenly Domain. Liu family. Ever since the previous incident, the Liu family's status was not as good as before, but they still maintained their status as one of the 3 great families. Liu Yihe and Liu Feng were helpless. Regarding Liu Ruolan's death, the two of them could only sigh. After all, for the sake of the family, it was inevitable to sacrifice someone. At this moment, the two of them sensed the arrival of 2 auras at the same time. Their faces changed as they rushed into the hall. Longao. Both Liu Yihe and Liu Feng were shocked as they looked at the 2 people in front of them. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that Longao would dare to step into the heavenly thunder domain. This person was extremely arrogant. If it wasn't for Ruolan, the Liu family would have ceased to exist. At the thought that Ruolan had died for him, Longao felt a deep sense of self-blame and guilt. For Ruolan's sake, Longao finally endured it. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. They had already sensed that the warrior beside Longao was a god ancestor. They were really shocked. They finally knew why Longao dared to set foot in the thunder heavenly domain. Even Jiyu Hao would not dare to provoke Longao. How did Longao do it? Longao, what is the meaning of your visit? The two of them couldn't figure it out. Since Longao wasn't here to cause trouble, then what was he here for? I'm here to pay my respects to Ruolan. Liu Feng sighed deeply in his heart. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he endured it and told Longao where Ruolan was buried. In the next second, Longao and He Zishuan's figures had already disappeared in an instant. Liu Feng said helplessly, "Father, did we do something wrong before?" Liu Yihe shook his head and said, "If I were to do it again, I would still make the same choice." His face was filled with helplessness. "You know better than me what Jiyu Hao and the Domain Lord's alliance means. If we didn't deal with Longao at that time, it wouldn't be just one person who died, but our entire family." How could Liu Feng not know what his father had said? Knowing was one thing, but not regretting it was another. That was his own daughter, and also his most beloved daughter. "Feng, I know you feel terrible, but you have to remember, in front of the family's interests, giving others benefits is not important. Ruolan died for the family, she is the pride of the family." The dead couldn't be brought back to life, so Liu Feng didn't continue arguing about it. He naturally understood his father's helplessness. After all, the Domain Lord's alliance was a colossus, and the tiny Liu clan was simply nothing before such a colossus. "Father, now that Longao has come, what should we do?" They already knew the gist of the matter. The Domain Lord's alliance was divided into 2 factions. The alliance master supported Longao, but the great clan elder wanted to kill Longao. Should he choose alliance master Kang Hao, or great clan elder Shi Shi? This was a very serious problem. Both of them understood that if they didn't make a good choice, there would only be one result, and that was the complete annihilation of their family. It was precisely because of this that the two of them had ugly expressions on their faces. Whether it was the great clan elder or the alliance master, neither of them were people that the Liu family could afford to offend. And the key to choosing who to choose was Longao. If he chose the alliance master, then he would treat it as if Longao had never come. If he chose the great elder, then he would spread the news of Longao. There was no turning back for an arrow that had been shot. None of us can choose. Whether it's the alliance master or the great clan elder, they are not people we can provoke. Let's pretend that the Longao's arrival did not happen. We will remain neutral and hope to avoid this calamity. Whether the Liu family lived or died would depend on fate and luck. If they were lucky, the Liu family would definitely be able to avoid this calamity. If they were unlucky, they could imagine what the result would be. In the Liu family's ancestral hall, a brand new memorial tablet stood at the bottom. It was Liu Ruolan's memorial tablet. Looking at the memorial tablet in front of him, Longao's heart was filled with guilt and self-blame. He first bowed, then said, "No matter who Jiyu Hao is, I will kill him to avenge you. As for your family, I will not care." Not destroying the Liu family was already out of respect for Ruolan. Otherwise, the current Liu family would no longer exist. However, in the end, he still forcefully endured it. No matter what, Ruolan was still a member of the Liu family, and she did not wish for him to deal with the Liu family. "I have let Ruolan down." Without even turning around, Longao knew who had come. Towards this so-called father, Longao was filled with disdain. In his opinion, no matter how strong or weak a family was, when a disciple was in danger, they should step forward bravely and not retreat. Although he could understand, he could not agree. "Ruolan died for me. I will definitely avenge him." Longao, Jiyu Hao is definitely not as simple as he looks. Even if you have the help of the Divine Lord, I advise you to be careful. Chapter 3105. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Liu Feng also knew about Jiyu Hao? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Liu Feng said solemnly, "Our Liu family has always lived in Thunder City, and has been here longer than Jiyu Hao." Longao did not say anything, and just listened quietly. Jiyu Hao was originally only a divine emperor warrior, but he was extremely mysterious and powerful. Back then, I accidentally saw that Jiyu Hao killed a divine emperor warrior with his divine emperor strength. Divine emperor warrior? Longao could almost be sure that the Jiyu Hao back then was not as simple as he looked on the surface. The divine emperor realm was only on the surface. To be able to kill a divine lord, or even a god ancestor, without a doubt, Jiyu Hao's cultivation was at least at the peak of the god ancestor realm, or even at the chaos realm. He was deeply hidden. It could be said that Jiyu Hao had really hidden himself well. Ordinary people would not be able to discover him. "I know what to do." Was Liu Feng really that kind? Longao obviously knew what Liu Feng meant. He just wanted to borrow a knife to kill someone. With just his and the Liu family's strength, it was not enough to contend against Jiyu Hao. In this situation, he could only rely on his own strength. If it was anything else, Longao would definitely not agree. Only now. He wanted to deal with Jiyu Hao in the first place. Longao said coldly, "The Liu family is in big trouble." After saying that, Longao turned around and left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. What did that mean? Liu Feng's face was gloomy. Of course, he knew that Longao would not say such words for no reason. Since that was the case, then he knew what was going on. So what if he knew? Could it be that he could still leave Thunder City? Longao firmly believed that Jiyu Hao and Shi would definitely not let the Liu family go. No matter if the Liu family was really related to him or not, he believed that they would suffer a calamity. However, he would not make a move. Although he would not deal with the Liu family, he would not help the Liu family either. With the Liu family's strength, even if Shi wanted to deal with the Liu family, he would have to find an excuse. It was impossible for him to make a move for no reason, especially at this time. After paying his respects to Ruolan, Longao did not want to fight against Jiyu Hao. Previously, he did not know why Jiyu Hao did not deal with him. Now that he thought about it, it seemed that Jiyu Hao was not a simple person. Domain Chief's Manor. Thunder City had always been Jiyu Hao's territory, especially after what had happened before. Jiyu Hao could be said to be paying attention to the Liu family at all times, and as long as the Liu family made any strange movements, he would be able to discover it immediately. Longao secretly entered the Liu family. If he hadn't made preparations beforehand, he wouldn't have known. "Liu clan, it seems like you're tired of living." 3 days later, Jiyu Hao received the news from the Domain Lord Alliance. Towards the Liu family, he would kill them without mercy. However, He had to do it reasonably, and definitely could not leave any traces behind. This matter was neither simple nor troublesome. Of course, Ji Hao would not personally take action, but let the other two great families join hands to deal with the Liu family. As for the only divine venerable warrior in the Liu family, he would be the one to take care of it. In just a few days, the Liu family that was originally the #1 family in Thunder City was completely destroyed. Although many people knew that this was a groundless accusation, no one dared to say it out loud. The Liu clan was only famous in the Thunder heavenly domain. Therefore, the fall of the Liu clan didn't cause any waves at all. Longao left. Yes, my lord. Ji Hao did not stop him at all. He sneered and said, Longao, I hope you don't disappoint me. If you are still unable to prove your Tao this time, as if he had thought of something, Ji Hao's face instantly darkened, and he coldly muttered to himself, I wonder if that old thing passed down the burning heart flame lotus to Longao. If Longao possesses the burning heart flame lotus, then this matter will be troublesome. Ji Hao was not afraid of anything. The only thing he was afraid of was the burning heart flame lotus. This was also the real reason why he had to obtain Shenyuan Bubai's inheritance. If Longao really obtained the burning heart flame lotus, then things would be troublesome. Until now, Ji Hao still didn't dare to be sure if the other party had obtained his nemesis, the burning heart flame lotus. In order to prove his Tao, he had to endure. Ji Hao was very clear in his heart that no matter what happened, he had to prove his Tao. Ji Hao had hidden himself very well. Ever since he had awakened his primordial spirit, he had been hiding in the Thunder heavenly domain. Until now, no one knew his true identity. Longao, who had left the Thunder heavenly domain, had already heard about the Liu family in Thunder City. Just as he had guessed, Shi and Ji Hao would definitely not leave the Liu family behind. With the strength of the Domain Lord Alliance, destroying the Liu family was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. Where to go? For a moment, Longao was also a little confused. Although the 9 Revolution Chaos Mantra was powerful and could even help him prove his Tao, this reincarnation was obviously a huge hindrance to his cultivation speed. If it was according to his cultivation speed before reincarnation, he would have already reached the chaotic realm. But now, even if he had many opportunities, he was still only a high-level divine master. He hadn't even reached the divine lord realm. In the end, it was still because of the 9 Revolution Chaos Mantra. He was very helpless. Boss, my cultivation has already successfully broken through to the 8th level. Now, even if it's a middle-level divine lord, I can easily devour him. Hearing that Xiao Hei's cultivation had already broken through to the 8th level, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Of course, he knew what it meant for Xiao Hei's cultivation to break through to the 8th level. The gap between the 7th level and the 8th level was too big. They weren't on the same level at all. Xiao Hei, in the following time, I will do my best to help you break through to the 9th level. Xiao Hei was very curious. He seemed to have sensed that something was wrong with his boss, but he didn't ask much. No matter what he did, strength was still the most important thing. Boss, where are we going now? Home. Ah, home. What did this mean? Xiao Hei was a little confused. He didn't know what his boss meant. Why did he mention going home all of a sudden? Did his boss want to return to the vast starry sky? Boss, if we force our way back, first of all, if we go back, it's very likely that we'll expose the location of the starry sky. Second, if we go back, it'll definitely cause a lot of damage to our cultivation. Boss, have you really thought it through? Xiao Hei didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why his boss wanted to go back. Longao seemed to be able to guess Xiao Hei's curiosity. He smiled and said, I just suddenly felt tired, so I want to go back and have a look. Xiao Hei didn't say much since things had already come to this. He would follow his boss wherever he went, no matter if it was a mountain of knives or a sea of fire. Let's go. We'll enter from the Black Stone Heavenly Region. Chapter 3106. There were a total of 9 entrances in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain. Longao had sealed all 9 entrances, so it was difficult for anyone to find them. After entering the Blackstone Heavenly Domain, Longao didn't want to wait for a moment. He wanted to leave and go home. He was tired. He wanted to go home and have a rest. Boss, I always feel that someone is following us. It shouldn't be. Longao was very confident in his senses. From the beginning to the end, he didn't sense any aura following them. However, Black was not a person who talked nonsense. Was there something fishy? Boss, I don't know why, but I always feel that someone is following us. Longao did not continue on his way, but chose to stop. It was better to be safe than sorry. If someone was really following them and they opened the entrance to the starry sky without knowing it, they would be in big trouble. Black, can you locate the other party? That was the key. Longao chose to believe what Black said. Brother, it should be fine. Okay. The two pretended to rest, while Black began to locate the other party. The next second, Black said to him via soul sense, Boss, I have located the other party. You have to be careful. Okay. Of course, Longao wouldn't do it himself. God knew what the other party was. He directly released the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation from his chaotic dantian and began to cover the surrounding space. What a terrifying fire attribute aura. What is this? Inside the formation, Longao and Black had trapped a palm-sized person. Black seemed to think of something and said in surprise, Boss, this is the strange fire. Strange fire? Longao's face suddenly changed because he had also sensed that the person in front of him was in strange fire. There were 23 kinds of strange fires in the Chaos realm. He had already obtained the first chaotic flame and the 7th heart-burning lotus. What kind of strange fire was the other party? Do you know me? The little person's voice was very young. Both Black and Longao didn't expect that this strange fire had already taken shape. However, the 2 kinds of strange fires Longao got, neither the chaotic flame nor the heart-burning lotus had taken shape. His luck was really good. At this time, he was able to encounter a newly formed heavenly flame. Of course we know you. What kind of heavenly flame are you? You can call me Hell. Hell? Could it be the hellfire that was ranked 3rd among the 23 types of deviant flames? Longao was very clear about what Hell's flame, which was ranked 3rd, meant. Hell's flame was known as the most terrifying flame from Hell, and it could burn everything. Back then, a reincarnation realm warrior who called himself the old ancestor of Hell had suddenly risen to power. He had brought the Hell flame with him to roam the Chaos world. However, the Hell ancestor had killed too many people and did not even spare those of the same level. In the end, he was killed. 80% of the Samsara warriors joined forces and killed him. Of course, Longao didn't make a move, but he had heard of Hell's old ancestor's ferocious reputation. If he was not mistaken, it seemed that the Hell's old ancestor had completely fallen, and the Hell's flame had become an ownerless object. Moreover, it had entered the cycle of reincarnation. Heavenly flames were different from cultivators. Once they entered the cycle of reincarnation, they would not awaken their soul. Instead, they would have to find a new master or cultivate on their own. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had to seize it. If he chose to give it up so easily, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. He suppressed the excitement in his heart. Why are you following us? This was what Longao was most curious about. When faced with a heavenly flame, and a fully formed one at that, he absolutely couldn't fight it head-on. Instead, he had to use his wits and think of a way to subdue this heavenly flame. Of course, little Hay knew what his boss was thinking. He also didn't act rashly. If he let Hell's flame go, it would be almost impossible to find it again. In order to not let the heavenly flame dislike him, Longao had already retracted the formation that he had just released. You have an aura that I like. Can you give it to me? What is it? Longao became more and more curious. He didn't know what on earth he had that had attracted Hell's flame's attention. However, he had already decided that no matter what it took, he would find a way to subdue Hell's flame. Can you let me look for it myself? Hell's flame was like a child. His words were also extremely childish. If it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't agree to this. After all, the threat of Hell's flame was right there. If they weren't careful, they would fall into an irreversible situation. Only Longao nodded and said with a smile, No problem. Ah! Hearing that his boss actually agreed, little Hay was shocked because he knew very well what it meant. If he wasn't careful, his boss would very likely be destroyed by Hell's Flame. There were 23 types of heavenly flames in the Chaos Realm. Each of them had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Since his boss had 2 types of heavenly flames, he knew very well about heavenly flames. Since that was the case, why would his boss still take the risk? Boss, you have to be careful. We still don't know what Hell's Flame means. How could Longao not know what little Hay meant? However, if he didn't take the risk, how would he have the chance to subdue Hell's Flame? He already had 2 types of heavenly flames. If he could have a 3rd type of heavenly flame, he knew what it meant. I know what I'm doing. Seeing that his boss had made up his mind, little Hay didn't continue to say anything. He could only hope that his boss would be safe and that Hell's Flame wouldn't play any tricks. Otherwise, even Hell's Flame would have to die. With a swoosh, Hell's Flame had already arrived in front of Longao. It seemed to still be a little vigilant. However, when it sensed that there was no danger at all, it climbed onto Longao's body and began to search everywhere. Longao didn't move, allowing Hell's Flame to search everywhere on his body. He was very curious. He didn't know what Hell's Flame liked on his body. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't think of a reason. Why do you have the aura of heavenly flames on your body? Hell's Flame asked curiously. It turned out that Hell's Flame had sensed the aura of the other 2 types of heavenly flames on his body. It was really strong. Without hiding anything, it said, "These 2 types of heavenly flames are my brothers. Do you want to become my brother too?" What is a brother? Hell's Flame didn't know what a brother meant. A brother is a brother. Longao was very patient because he knew that if he wanted to subdue Hell's Flame, he had to be patient. He absolutely couldn't be too hasty. Otherwise, he would definitely fail. Chapter 3107. Hell Flame did not seem to understand. He thought about it. Hell Flame shook his head and said, "I don't understand, but since you have 2 kinds of strange flames." At this point, Hell Flame did not continue to speak. "You want to follow me?" "Yes, is that okay?" "No problem." Longao was not in a hurry to subdue Hell Flame. As long as Hell Flame was willing to follow him, it would be much easier to subdue it in the future. Did he succeed just like that? Although Xiao He was pleasantly surprised, he was more worried and solemn. Among the 23 kinds of strange flames, Hell Flame was the most evil. Although it was willing to follow the boss, no one could guarantee that Hell Flame was willing. If it had any other thoughts, one could imagine the consequences. He seemed to be able to guess what Xiao He was thinking. Spiritual sense voice transmission. "Xiao He, you and I know very well what Hell Flame means. Although this is indeed very risky, I am willing to try. Once I successfully subdue Hell Flame, it will be very helpful for my Dao validation 10,000 years later." He shrugged helplessly. Since the boss had already said so, Xiao He did not know what to say. He could only hope that Hell Flame would be obedient and not play any tricks. "Boss, shall we open the entrance now?" "Yes." Longao could not wait for even a moment and immediately opened the entrance. If there was no accident, in the entire chaotic realm, only Longao and Xiao He knew about the entrance to the starry sky. The vast starry sky. As soon as he stepped into the vast starry sky, Longao felt a deep sense of comfort as if he had returned home. This feeling was very comfortable. Today, Longao and Xiao He, one was a high-level ultimate god and the other was a beginner ultimate god. Not to mention the vast starry sky, even in the chaotic realm, they were famous. The soaring dragon empire was already the most powerful existence in the vast starry sky. No one dared to provoke it. As soon as Longao appeared, the entire soaring dragon empire was in complete chaos. "Brother Ao. Ao. Brother." All kinds of voices suddenly sounded. After a while, grandfather and the others had already arrived. When they saw Longao, Long Yi and his wife were so happy that they cried and were pleasantly surprised. Longao greeted them one by one and walked into the courtyard with his grandfather, parents, Aoshue, and the others. 3 days later. "Brother Ao, now that you're back, are you not going to leave?" "Not leaving." Longao did not want to leave either. However, if he did not leave, he would not be able to recover his peak strength after 10,000 years. When that time came, he would be in a very passive position. Even his family would be implicated. Because of this, Longao knew very well that it was almost impossible for him not to leave. He smiled. Not for the time being. Aoshue and the others instantly understood the meaning behind Longao's words. They originally wanted to persuade him to stay, but the four girls were very clear that no matter how much they said, they could not change Brother Ao's decision. In that case, he might as well cherish the time he spent with Brother Ao. Boss, I can't take it anymore. I want to enter your chaotic dantian. If this continues, it will definitely affect my cultivation. Yes. Xiao Hei did not want to stay here for even a minute. Once the warriors and spirit beasts of the chaotic realm forced their way into the various starry sky planes, their strength and cultivation would definitely be affected. Some warriors' strength would even regress. However, Longao did not care at all. If he cared, he would not have come back. Brother Ao, will your strength and cultivation be affected? The four of them immediately became worried. Although they did not know how strong Longao was now, if it did affect his strength and cultivation, the loss would outweigh the gain. However, the four girls did not want Longao to leave. How could they bear to let Longao leave when he finally came back? They were very conflicted. Longao smiled and said, "It's okay." Longao obviously did not want to be entangled with this problem. This time, he had come back with great difficulty. He just wanted to have a good rest. The news of Longao's return had spread throughout the vast starry sky. In the past, Longao had dominated the vast starry sky and fought against countless powerhouses and forces alone. Not only did he not fall, but he also ascended to the chaotic realm. In today's vast starry sky, the chaotic realm was no longer a secret. As long as one was a starry sky warrior, they basically knew about it. Everyone worked hard to cultivate, hoping to ascend to the chaotic realm as soon as possible. However, no one knew that Longao had completely sealed the 9 chaos channels. No matter who it was, no one could enter the chaos channel to enter the chaotic realm. This was also a last resort. If the 9 chaos channels were discovered by the enemy, the vast starry sky would not even have the chance to regret. Soaring dragon starry sky? Longao was very curious. He did not know when the vast starry sky was renamed Soaring Dragon Starry Sky. This was obviously named after the Soaring Dragon Empire. Bai Ling smiled and said, "Brother Ao, you don't know. Since you left, the entire Soaring Dragon Starry Sky worshipped you very much. Many forces discussed and thought of a name for the starry sky. In the end, they named it Soaring Dragon. So that was it." In the following days, Longao spent almost all his time with his family. As for cultivation, he put it aside. He originally thought that this return would not only affect his cultivation but also decrease his strength. This was the conclusion that even chaotic reincarnation realm warriors could not change. However, the result? For some unknown reason, after Longao returned and did not cultivate, not only did it not affect his cultivation but it also began to weaken his realm. Even so, Longao did not care about it. 3 months later, Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through from high-level ultimate god to peak ultimate god. He was completely dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? Boss, this. Xiao Hei did not know what to say. It was unbelievable. Not only did his strength not decrease after entering the starry sky realm, but he had also broken through to peak ultimate god. Boss is indeed boss. He can even make a breakthrough under such circumstances. It seems to have something to do with the state of mind. Longao vaguely guessed that the biggest reason he could smoothly break through from high-level ultimate god to peak ultimate god was probably related to his return. However, Longao also knew very well that breaking through to peak ultimate god was only luck. It would not be that easy to continue to break through to the Emperor God realm. Boss, why don't I stay outside? How could Longao not understand Xiao Hei's intention? He said, "Xiao Hei, don't mess around. You'd better stay in the chaotic dantian and cultivate. It's good for you." His situation was very special. It was suitable for him but not for Xiao He. Longao was almost certain that if Xiao He left the chaotic dantian to cultivate outside, not only would it not be able to break through to a higher realm, but it would also affect its cultivation and cause its strength to decrease. It would be troublesome if that happened. Chapter 3108. Xiao He knew what his boss meant and continued to return to his chaotic dantian without saying anything. Longao's cultivation base had successfully broken through to the peak ultimate god realm. He was not as surprised as he imagined. That was it. Longao did not think about returning to the chaotic realm and stayed in the soaring dragon starry sky to accompany his family. Time passed. 3 years passed in a blink of an eye. Longao felt more comfortable than ever when he returned to the soaring dragon starry sky. If possible, he wished he would never leave. Boss, why don't you move the entire soaring dragon starry sky into your chaotic dantian since you can't bear to part with your family? Xiao He's suggestion was really crazy. No one in the entire chaotic realm, including countless starry sky planes, could do that. It was complete nonsense. Xiao He believed his boss could do it because he was the only one in the entire chaotic realm who could reproduce a chaotic dantian. Longao knew what Xiao He meant. He shook his head. I can't do it now. If I can succeed in proving my Tao and break through the 8th transformation of the 9 revolutions chaotic realm, it won't be difficult for me to reproduce my own chaotic realm, let alone move into the soaring dragon starry sky. He had created the 9 revolutions chaotic technique but could not break through to a higher realm. Even at his peak, he could only break through the 7th transformation at most and reached the peak 7th transformation. He could not enter the 8th transformation. However, Longao had already guessed it. It seemed that he had to break through the 8th transformation to succeed in proving his Tao. In other words, breaking through the 8th transformation and proving his Tao must be done at the same time. Breaking through the 8th transformation was also the time to prove his Tao and vice versa. He was in big trouble. Longao did not dare to think about the 9th transformation of the 9 revolutions chaotic realm. When he created the 9 revolutions chaotic technique, he did not expect the martial technique he created to be so heaven-defying. Then there's no other way. Although I can't transfer the soaring dragon starry sky to my chaotic dantian, I can set up the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation here. After returning this time, Longao had thought about it. No matter what price he had to pay, he would set up a super formation around the starry sky. That way, he could rest assured. Currently, Longao was already a level 7 array master and had yet to break through to the level 8 realm. However, Longao was very confident. He had the right time, the right place, and the right people. He wanted to go against the natural order and create a person who could kill a god ancestor or even a chaotic realm expert. If it was in the primal chaos realm, it would definitely be impossible to do so. Only here. That was it. Longao began to devote himself to arranging the array formation. No one dared to disturb him because many people knew what Longao was doing. 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. This was also the reason why Longao had chosen this array formation. However, Longao still underestimated the difficulty of setting up a super array formation. Not to mention killing a chaotic realm warrior, even killing a god ancestor would be difficult. What should he do? Boss, are you setting up a formation? Although Hellflame didn't know what brother meant, he followed Black and called Longao boss. Longao was very happy because he knew that the closer he got to Hellflame, the more reliable it would be for him to subdue Hellflame in the future. Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was the name Longao gave to Hellflame. Yes, I'm setting up the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. However, I'm only a level 7 array master, so I can't upgrade the level of the formation. Longao was very curious. He didn't know why Xiao Hua asked that. Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Boss, I have an idea." What? Longao and Black didn't seem to understand. Although Hellflame was powerful, it was still an alien flame. An alien flame could set up a formation? That was simply nonsense. Boss, I can integrate my flame into the formation. Longao was not a fool. He immediately understood what Xiao Hua meant. If that was the case, even if the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation was only a level 7 array, It would be impossible for a god ancestor to break it. As for whether it could resist a warrior in the chaotic realm, it was still unknown. He couldn't be sure until he tried it himself. Really? Longao was very surprised. He didn't expect Hell Flame to be able to do that. If that was the case, it would be a great help to him. Boss, I have another suggestion. You can use your formation to kill warriors at a higher level. Say it. Longao was looking forward to it. He found that Xiao Hua was really powerful. However, as long as it could upgrade the level of the formation, he would pay any price. Boss, other than my flame that can be fused into the formation, the other 2 heavenly flames in your body can also be fused into flames. In that case, the formation will fuse the flames of 3 heavenly flames. Xiao Hua didn't continue speaking, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao understood Xiao Hua's meaning. He immediately started to integrate the flames. Currently, Longao possessed the primal chaos flame, which was ranked first among the 23 types of heavenly flames. There was also the burning heart lotus, which was ranked 7th. If he were to add the hell flame, which was ranked 3rd, he would have 3 types of flames. What kind of concept was this? Without any hesitation, he carefully controlled the 2 types of exotic flames in his body and began to fuse the 2 types of exotic flames within the array formation. In addition to the hellfire, a total of 3 types of exotic flames had been fused. Perhaps no array master in the entire chaotic realm could set up such an array formation. In the chaotic world, no matter who it was, as long as they could get one kind of exotic flame, it was a great gift. Longao could be said to have 3 kinds of exotic flame at the same time. If the news that Longao had 3 kinds of exotic flame at the same time spread out, one could imagine what the consequences would be. 30 years later. It took Longao 30 years to set up the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation. At this moment, Longao and Xiao Hua were extremely surprised because the entire dragon soaring starry sky was surrounded by the formation. Even if someone could enter the starry sky, they would be killed by the formation. According to Longao's calculation, with the current power of the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation, not to mention god ancestors, even warriors in the chaotic realm could be easily killed. This was the starry sky plane. If it was in the chaotic world, then it wouldn't be so powerful. However, he had spent 30 years to set up this array to ensure the safety of his family. He had never thought that he could rely on this array to kill the enemy. Chapter 3109. Boss, why don't we test the power of the array? Who should we test it on? Throughout the entire soaring dragon starry sky, who could resist such a powerful array? Not to mention a lower god, it was unknown whether there was even a half-step lower god. How could Little Black not know what his boss meant? But he just smiled. Boss, why don't we go to the Chaos Realm and find a few people? Before Little Black could finish his words. Nonsense. I'm just joking. Little Black shrugged helplessly, not knowing why his boss was angry. Longao attached great importance to the safety of his family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spent so much effort to set up the array. It was better to be safe than sorry. Although the starry sky was now covered by the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array, there was no guarantee that it would be foolproof. He didn't want to have any accidents, let alone take the initiative to lead the enemy into the array. Blackie, go and destroy the other 8 chaos passageways for me. Remember, you have to destroy them completely. Understood. Longao's meaning was actually very simple. Although the 9 heavens 10 earths killing array had been set up, there was no guarantee that it would be safe. For absolute safety, Longao was ready to destroy the other 8 chaos channels. With only 1 chaos channel left, the danger would be relatively small. But the result? Little Black had just destroyed 2 chaos channels, and before he even began to destroy the 3rd, there were already countless people coming to stop him. What a joke. Feng Wuji, the newly promoted Starry Sky Dominator, was the strongest person in the Soaring Dragon Empire. Feng Wuji was very unhappy. Why did the Starry Sky use the word Soaring Dragon? If it weren't for the strength of the Soaring Dragon Empire, he would have taken action long ago. Now, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Get out of here, or I will swallow you all. Little Black was very depressed. The people in front of him were like ants to him. As long as he wanted to, he could devour everyone at any time. Even Feng Wuji, the strongest among them, was nothing in front of him. However, the boss had instructed them not to kill anyone in the soaring dragon starry sky unless it was absolutely necessary. Today, Longao's state of mind was different. If someone dared to stop him in the soaring dragon starry sky, Xiao He would have swallowed them whole. But now, things were different. With their strength, they already needed to look down on these people. Ha ha ha, what a beast. You actually dare to behave atrociously here. Endless rage. As one of the 10 great chaotic divine beasts, Blackie's status and power were clear for all to see. Yet, he had been insulted by someone who was not even a half-step low-level deity. How could he not be angry? Kill. Just when little He couldn't take it anymore, Longao's figure suddenly appeared. Who are you? In fact, Feng Wuji had already guessed the other party's identity. After all, Longao's portrait had spread throughout the entire Soaring Dragon Empire. Very few people did not know about Longao. Longao could be said to be the legend of Soaring Dragon Starry Sky. And who are you? Feng Wuji. In Longao's eyes, the Starry Sky ruler was not even an ant. But this time, he didn't want to cause any bloodshed. Otherwise, these people in front of him would already be dead. As time went by, more and more people gathered here. At a glance, the place was densely packed with Starry Sky warriors. There were probably hundreds of thousands of them. Longao knew that these people were definitely hired by Feng Wuji, which meant that they were Feng Wuji's men. What was Feng Wuji trying to do? Longao, I know you are a senior of the Soaring Dragon Starry Sky. But senior is senior. The Chaos Channel belongs to everyone in the Soaring Dragon Starry Sky, not you. Why did you destroy it? What right do you have? Rumors. Longao had ascended to the Chaos Realm. If that was the case, why would Longao appear here? Nonsense. In Feng Wuji's opinion, Longao must be like him, a Starry Sky ruler who hadn't found his opportunity yet. If that was the case, why couldn't he replace him and become the overlord of the Soaring Dragon Starry Sky? By then, the Soaring Dragon Starry Sky would not be named after Soaring Dragon, but after him. Just thinking about it made him excited. Whether it was Xiao He or Longao, they both knew what Feng Wuji was thinking. What I want to do, you don't seem to have the right to control. Longao would of course not explain further. It was a complete joke. Whether it was the Soaring Dragon Starry Sky or the Chaos Realm, one's fist spoke. With strength, one could do whatever one wanted. Although Longao didn't want to kill in his own home, he wouldn't compromise easily. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Feng Wuji burst out laughing maniacally. What an arrogant thing. Longao, even though I admire you, legends are just legends. Your era is over. Let me give you a word of advice. You'd better take your Soaring Dragon Empire and scram far, far away. Otherwise, what can you do? Longao laughed instead of getting angry. It had been a long time since he had met with such a weird person. Seemed like the other party thought that he was invincible just because he had broken through to the Starry Sky ruler level. What a fool. Did he not know that there was always someone better out there? If that's the case, before Feng Wuji could finish, Longao waved his hand impatiently and said, Xiao He, do it. This was way too troublesome. If he didn't get rid of this person now, he would definitely bring endless trouble to his family when he left the Starry Sky realm. Since that was the case, he might as well make use of this opportunity to get rid of this problem once and for all. At the thought of this, Longao naturally wouldn't waste any more time. This was the sentence that Xiao He had been waiting for. To think that the other party would dare to call him a beast. That was already the limit of his tolerance. As one of the 10 great chaos god beasts, who would dare to insult him in such a manner? Arrogant. Courting death. The moment Feng Wuji heard that Longao wasn't going to take action personally, and had instead sent a beast to deal with him, he felt that this was a humiliation. A humiliation as big as the heavens. If he didn't kill this man and beast, where would he put his face? Full of confidence, Feng Wuji had absolute confidence in his own strength. Even if Longao had made a name for himself a long time ago, he would still be able to kill this man and beast. But what was the result? Before Feng Wuji and the others could make a move, Xiao Hei's body had already started to expand rapidly. In just a few seconds, his body had already expanded countless times. Like a giant monster, he started to devour everything in his path. If Xiao Hei wanted to kill Feng Wuji, it would only take a few minutes. However, in order to intimidate the others, Xiao Hei chose the most direct and domineering way of devouring. Chapter 31:10. Feng Wuji was completely scared. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that the other party's strength would be so terrifying. This was just Longao's spirit beast, then how terrifying was Longao's strength? Thinking of this, Feng Wuji immediately roared in horror, "Senior Long, I know I was wrong, I won't meddle in other people's business, please let me go, I beg you." In the face of life and death, face was bullshit. Not to mention Feng Wuji, even the others were retreating in horror. It was too strong. As expected of the legendary Longao, just the spirit beasts around him had such terrifying strength. It's too late. Little Hei would not show mercy at all, just the other party's insult was enough to kill him 10,000 times. Boom. A small starry sky dominator was directly swallowed by Little Hei. There was no accident at all. Of course, Little Hei was not willing to give up. If he wanted to completely deter them, he had to kill. He and his boss had to leave eventually. The greater the deterrence, the better it would be for the soaring dragon empire. How could Longao not know what Little Hei meant? He sighed deeply. Since things had already come to this, he did not speak out to stop it. Little Hei's strength was needless to say. Under the crazy swallowing, 99% of the people were all swallowed in just a few seconds. In fact, according to Little Hei's strength, it was impossible to let anyone go. However, Little Hei did this deliberately. Today's matter must be spread out as soon as possible, otherwise, it would be a waste of deterrence. Sure enough. In just one day, the whole soaring dragon starry sky had spread that Longao and the spirit beasts around him had shown great power, swallowing Feng Wuji and hundreds of thousands of starry sky warriors. The reason was that Longao wanted to destroy the chaos channel. How could they not be angry? If there were no previous examples, there would be countless starry sky warriors coming out to stop it, but in the current situation, no one dared to take the lead. Longao's strength was too strong, even Feng Wuji could be killed. Everyone knew what it meant. Just like that. Under the deterrence, no one dared to stand up. Little Hei destroyed 8 chaos channels in a row, and the base camp of the soaring dragon empire was directly transferred. The last chaos channel was chosen as the base camp of the soaring dragon empire. In this way, it was completely foolproof. There were pros and cons. If someone discovered the chaos channel and was able to break the array, then the first person they would deal with would be his family. However, setting up a base camp in the chaos channel could also prevent others from having designs on the chaos channel. After weighing the pros and cons, Longao finally chose to take the risk. In the end, Longao had full confidence in the 9 heavens 10 earths killing formation that he had set up. Otherwise, he would not have dared to do so. "Grandpa, are you looking for me? When are you going to leave?" Longhaosha was not a fool. Of course, he knew that his grandson would not stay for too long. He might leave after a while. Longao was very clear about his grandfather's intentions. "I don't know, but it should be soon." Longao didn't want to leave yet. It wasn't easy for him to come back, so he wanted to stay a little longer. Longhaosha smiled and said, "If you are willing, why don't you marry them before you leave?" Longao finally understood his grandfather's intentions. Thinking of this, he did feel guilty towards the 4 girls. However, Longao did not want to get married now. Firstly, he was not in the mood to get married. The Tao validation 10,000 years later was related to his and his family's lives. If there was a slight mistake, the consequences would be unimaginable. Secondly, there was Sister Yun and Qian Er. Sister Lin was not here. If he married the 4 girls first, it would be unfair to the other 3. The most important thing was still Shuang. Longao hoped that he would succeed in validating his Tao and get married when everyone was present. That would be the most appropriate time. Thinking of this, "Grandpa, Now is not the time. When the time is right, I will marry them. Longao thought that his grandson would agree. However, he did not continue to dwell on this issue. Since his grandson was not willing to get married now, he must have his own thoughts. If you are tired in the future, come back. I know, Grandpa. Longao nodded with gratification. He had never thought that his family would one day dominate a starry sky plane. After all, Longao was just an unremarkable family in the Sky Marshal continent. Even in the entire Long family, his family was only a pitiful rank 9 family. It was because of Ao's strong rise that the family was able to dominate the Marshal Heaven continent and even stand proudly at the peak of the dragon-soaring starry sky. Furthermore, Longao guessed that Ao's strength had reached an unimaginable level. To be able to instantly kill Feng Wuji, it was obvious how powerful Ao's divine beast was. Given how powerful the divine beasts around him were, it wasn't hard to imagine how powerful his grandson would be. Even so, Longao did not ask. He knew that if his grandson wanted to tell him, there was no need to ask. His grandson would tell him. If his grandson did not want to tell him, even if he asked, it would be pointless. After leaving, Longao clenched his fists tightly. After 10,000 years, he must succeed no matter what. He must not let anything happen to his family. No matter who it was, he must not let anything happen to them. Whoever dared to stop him, he would kill without mercy. If a human blocked him, he would kill a god. Longao did not continue to cultivate because he knew that due to the change in his state of mind, his cultivation base had broken through from high-level ultimate god to peak ultimate god. It would be very difficult for him to continue to break through to the Emperor God realm. He would have to wait until he returned to the chaotic realm. Longao originally wanted to spend time with his family. However, at that moment, he felt that his chaotic 9 axes had loosened. He had successfully cultivated the first 5 axes. They were the first Hell-devouring axe, the second Heaven-devouring axe, the third Absolute Annihilation axe, the fourth Divine Consciousness Obliteration axe, and the fifth Primordial Spirit Confinement axe. Jian Wushuang had tried many times but failed to cultivate the 6th axe. He did not expect his breakthrough to the peak ultimate god realm to loosen up. It was a good opportunity to see if he could comprehend the 6th axe of the chaotic 9 axes. Longao was shocked. It turned out that the Chaos 6th axe could only be comprehended by combining it with the God's Punishment divine ability. If not for the fact that he had already comprehended the pinnacle of the God's Punishment divine ability, it would be almost impossible to comprehend the Chaos 6th axe. The 6th axe, Divine Punishment Nirvana. Longao was pleasantly surprised. How could he hesitate? He immediately began to comprehend with all his might, hoping to comprehend the 6th axe as soon as possible. He wanted to feel its might. Chapter 31:11. Longao chose to go into seclusion to cultivate. No one dared to disturb him. Longao personally ordered that Longao's cultivation place was listed as a forbidden area and no one was allowed to step into it. Longao's cultivation was of the utmost importance. In a valley, Longao continuously swung the Chaos axe in his hand. The Chaos 6th axe, Divine Punishment Nirvana. It was very simple. That was to fuse the godly punishment mystic ability with the primal Chaos axe. Longao looked at the surroundings of the valley. After cultivating for a full 3 months, he finally reached the entry level. However, if he wanted to achieve great success, he would need at least 3 years of time. Time flew by. 3 years later, the primal Chaos axe in Longao's hand struck out. It was silent and soft, as if it didn't have any power. Longao was extremely surprised because the entire valley was cleansed by the divine punishment Nirvana's breath in the next second. He could not feel the power of the axe if he was not in it. Longao was full of confidence since he successfully cultivated the Chaos 6th axe, Divine Punishment Nirvana. Although he was only a peak ultimate god and had not broken through to the Emperor God realm, he could kill even a beginner Emperor God once he used the Chaos 6th axe. There was no doubt about that. Boss, congratulations on successfully cultivating the Chaos 6th axe. It's only the Chaos 6th axe. He was able to use the Chaos 9th axe when he was at his peak. Therefore, he was very clear about the power of the Chaos Ninth Axe. It was almost invincible among those of the same level. The power of the Chaos Ninth Axe combined with the Chaos Axe was frightening. However, the Chaos Axe had not recovered yet. Boss, your cultivation level has reached peak ultimate god. If you can break through to the Emperor God realm, even if it's the lowest beginner Emperor God, I believe no one among the Emperor Gods will be your match. It was easier said than done to break through to the Emperor God realm. Even Longao had a solemn look on his face. Longao knew it was time for him to leave after he successfully comprehended the Chaos Sixth Axe. Brother Ao, are you really leaving? Aoshue and the other 3 girls were very reluctant to see Brother Ao leave. Although they already knew that this day would come sooner or later, it was one thing to know and another to actually be there. Longao was also very reluctant in his heart. You already know about my situation. I only have 10,000 years to prepare, so I must leave. Of course, Longao would not hide anything from the 4 girls. He told them about the Tao confirmation 10,000 years later. That was indeed the case. The 4 women became more and more worried. They never thought that their husband would be the reincarnation of the most powerful reincarnation realm warrior in the chaotic realm. If he failed to validate his Tao 10,000 years later, then Brother Ao wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. The undying indestructibility from before was actually not the true meaning of undying indestructibility. Be careful. Yes, I know. After I leave, you all have to be extra careful. Remember, the 9 heavens and 10 grounds killing array that I have set up can block most of the warriors. However, if there are any accidents, you all have to leave as soon as possible. Longao was still worried. After all, there were still many experts overseeing the Chaos realm. It was not as simple as it looked on the surface. Not only that, there were many capable people in the Chaos realm. Even if he was very confident in the 9 heavens and 10 grounds killing array that he had set up, he could not guarantee that there was no formation in the Chaos realm that could be broken. What if there was? This was what Longao was really worried about. After all, looking at the entire family, there was not even a lower god, let alone the so-called ultimate god or emperor god. It was simply nonsense. Once an expert attacked, it was obvious what the consequences would be. After thinking about it, Longao was still worried. Brother Ao, don't worry. We will be fine. Yu Yin, Aoshue, for the sake of insurance, I have already asked Xiao Hei to pick up his Ishuan. He is a peak emperor god. With him around, it should be safer. The 4 girls did not say much. In their opinion, what kind of existence was a peak emperor god? They had no idea at all. The next day, his Ishuan had already followed Xiao Hei to the dragon-soaring starry sky. As soon as he stepped in, he sensed the 9 heavens and 10 grounds killing array. His face suddenly changed. He never thought that Longao, who was only a level 7 array master, could set up such a heaven-defying formation. He asked himself, could he set up such a formation? It was completely impossible. How do you feel about the formation I set up? It is very powerful. I have an intuition that the formation you set up can even kill a god ancestor realm warrior. Although he did not want to believe it, the fact was in front of him. The formation that Longao had set up was indeed heaven-defying. I want to ask, what is in the formation that you set up? He was indeed a level 8 array master. At first glance, he could see that there was something else in the formation. Longao did not hide anything from his Ishuan. He said with a smile, at that time, I accidentally got 2 kinds of strange flames. So, for the sake of insurance, I integrated 2 kinds of strange flames into the formation. Longao did not say 3 kinds of strange flames. Even 2 kinds of strange flames were shocking enough. Just as expected. Hearing Longao's words, his Ishuan was completely stunned on the spot. His face was filled with shock. Of course, he knew what the deviant flame meant. 4 ordinary people, not to mention obtaining 2 deviant flames at the same time, even obtaining 1 deviant flame was a blessing in disguise. Longao's luck was truly heaven-defying. However, what he couldn't figure out was, since Longao obtained 2 deviant flames at the same time, how could he still live until now? As everyone knew, The 23 kinds of strange flames were opposite to each other. Once they were possessed at the same time, they would definitely collide with each other. But since Longao was safe, he believed that he must have solved the problem, so his Ishuan did not ask more. The fact that Longao possessed 2 types of heavenly flame was still alright. What really made his Ishuan feel inconceivable was that Longao had actually integrated the flames of the 2 heavenly flame into the formation. It was simply too crazy. If it was any other formation master, they would not dare to do so. Because if they were slightly careless, they would know what the result would be. Crazy, really crazy. But his Ishuan liked Longao's craziness very much, because only in this way could he set up such a heaven-defying formation. Thinking of this, his Ishuan said, "I will do what you asked me to do. Don't worry. But I want to study this formation." "Well, no problem. I will tell you how to control the 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation later. But before I leave, I want you to break through to the God Ancestor realm first." Longao did not want to help his Ishuan break through to the God Ancestor realm so soon. But since it had come to this, he had to do it in advance. Chapter 31:12. Hearing Longao's words, his Ishuan instinctively did not want to believe it. It must be a joke. If Longao could help him break through to the God Ancestor realm, why didn't he break through? But his Ishuan was very clear that Longao would not joke with him. Could Longao really help him break through to the God Ancestor realm? If that was the case, then it would be for the best. Since he broke through to the Peak Emperor God realm, he had not made any progress. No matter how hard he tried, he could not break through to the God Ancestor realm. What should I do? Not to mention his Ishuan, even Blackie did not know what Longao wanted to do. To help a Peak Emperor God break through to the God Ancestor realm, it was easy to think, but difficult to do. What was Longao going to do? Follow me. His Ishuan was also looking forward to it, so he followed Longao into the formation. Brother the biggest reason why you can't break through to the God Ancestor realm is because of your formation. He nodded in agreement. Knowing it was one thing, and whether he could break through to the God Ancestor realm was another. If you want to break through to the God Ancestor realm, you must break through to the level 9 realm. Brother Long, it's easier said than done to break through to the level 9 realm from the level 8 realm. He gave a deep sigh. To break through to the level 9 realm from the level 8 realm, everyone knew what it meant. However, Longao smiled and said, "Brother your array formation realm has already reached a bottleneck. In fact, after so many years, you have a certain level of understanding towards the 9th level array formation. It's just that you haven't had the opportunity to break through yet." How could his Ishuan not know about it? So what if he knew? Leave it to me. 3 days later, Longao left the soaring dragon starry sky with Blackie and went to the chaotic world. As for his Ishuan, he successfully broke through from level 8 array master to level 9 array master, and his cultivation also broke through from Peak Emperor God to Primary God Ancestor. Although it was only a breakthrough of 1 level, there was a world of difference between the two. Until now, his Ishuan did not even react, because from the beginning to the end, he did not know how Longao had helped him. For no reason at all, he had broken through in a daze. Both of them broke through. Regardless of whether it was the level of formations or the level of cultivation, he had successfully achieved a breakthrough. He was very grateful to Longao. In the following time, his Ishuan did not go anywhere. Instead, he stayed in the array formation and began to study it wholeheartedly. His Ishuan knew very well that if he could thoroughly study this so-called 9 heavens and 10 earths killing formation, then he might be able to continue making breakthroughs in array formations. Chaos Realm. Blackstone Domain. After destroying 8 chaos tunnels, there was only 1 chaos tunnel left. Longao and Little Black instantly appeared in the Blackstone Heavenly Domain. It's starting again. Boss, you're already a peak ultimate god. You should break through to the Emperor God realm as soon as possible. How could Longao not know what Xiaohei meant? Seems like I have to go all out to devour power. God knew how long it would take for him to break through to the Emperor God realm through normal cultivation. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to devour a large amount of energy. Although it was risky, it was the fastest way to break through to the Emperor God realm. There was no opportunity without danger. Xiao He originally wanted to say something, but in the end, he held himself back because he also knew that it was very important for his boss to improve his strength, especially after 10,000 years. It could even decide his life and death. However, Xiao He was still very worried. After all, it was still unknown if his boss could really withstand the backlash by devouring power. Longao and Xiao He did not leave the Blackstone heavenly domain for the time being and began to crazily hunt spiritual beasts. However, the Blackstone heavenly domain was still a lower heavenly domain. Even the spiritual beasts' levels were very low. Devouring power like that would not help Longao's breakthrough substantially. In the end, Longao and Xiao He still chose to leave the Blackstone heavenly domain. The best choice was to go to the first heavenly domain or the second heavenly domain because the divine beasts in these two heavenly domains were very high level. Longao's cultivation had successfully broken through to the peak ultimate god realm. Ordinary level 7 divine beasts were no longer useful if he wanted to break through by devouring power. Only peak level 7 or level 8 divine beasts would be useful. Longao could completely kill early stage level 8 divine beasts. With Longao's help, they could even kill middle stage level 8 divine beasts if they worked together. The first upper heavenly domain, Chaos Mountain Range. Longao and Blackie shuttled back and forth in the mountains. When they encountered level 7 or level 8 divine beasts, they killed them without hesitation. In this way, after Longao forcefully devoured the power, he immediately began to cultivate. 3 months later, slowly opening his eyes, Longao's face was full of helplessness. He didn't know what was going on. Under normal circumstances, he should have broken through to the Divine Emperor realm by devouring so much energy. But now, even after devouring thousands of divine beasts of the 7th and 8th level, there was still no sign of loosening up. It was a little unbelievable. As for where the problem was, Longao did not know either. "Boss, what's going on?" Xiao He was also very curious. He had not successfully broken through to the Emperor God realm after devouring so much power. If that was the case, there was no doubt that it would be very difficult for Boss to break through to the Emperor God realm even if he continued to devour power. There must be some obstacles. It should be because of my physique. Physique. Xiao He did not know what Boss meant. I don't know why this reincarnation cycle brought me the legendary chaotic sacred body. This physique needs to devour a huge amount of power to continuously advance. I don't know if it's good or bad. Xiao He was shocked. Although he did not know what the chaotic sacred body was, he could imagine what it meant if Boss could not break through to the Emperor God realm with such a huge amount of power. Boss, according to what you said, the so-called chaotic sacred body is just a problem. Longao shook his head and said helplessly, although the chaotic sacred body requires a huge amount of power, it can better support the cultivation of the 9-revolution chaos formula. According to my guess, the reason why I could not break through to the 8th revolution of the 9-revolution chaotic realm was related to my physique. Now that I have attained the chaotic sacred body, it will be very beneficial for me in the future. However, because of the chaotic sacred body, it is indeed very difficult to cultivate. The power it requires is also much more terrifying than any other physique. It is still unknown whether I can recover to my peak after 10,000 years. Chapter 31:13. He felt helpless. Whether it was a blessing or a curse, good or bad, he did not know. If he wanted to break through to the Emperor God realm from peak ultimate God, he would need to devour an endless amount of energy. The amount of energy he had devoured was far from enough. Xiao He understood his boss's helplessness, but even he could not do anything about it. "Boss, what should we do now?" "Search for energy." Longao did not continue to stay in the Chaos Mountain Range because killing more level 7 or level 8 divine beasts would not help him break through to the Emperor God realm. The first heavenly region. Longao went to Kang Lin as soon as he arrived at the Domain Lord's Alliance. "Brother Long, where have you been all this time? What's wrong?" He was very curious as he did not know what was going on with Sister Lin. There seemed to be a hidden meaning in her words. "Brother Long, you were too reckless this time." The more curious he became. Before Longao could speak, Kang Lin continued, "Brother Long, You killed Yi Detian at this time. You're just looking for trouble. It was Yi Detian. Longao finally knew what was going on, but he did not regret it at all. Sister Lin, I must kill Yi Detian. Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future trouble. Longao knew very well that he could not be soft-hearted towards his enemies. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble if he let the tiger return to the mountain. Kang Lin sighed deeply. She knew her brother's character and felt helpless. However, since it had already happened, it was impossible to fix it. Brother Long, you should know that She and my father are like fire and water now. She will not let you off easily after killing Yi Detian. Longao already knew what Sister Lin meant. He smiled and said, Sister Lin, I'm here to help you deal with She. Huh. Kang Lin was very surprised and said, Brother Long, father will deal with this. You should avoid it first. She was in the chaotic realm. Even her father was not completely confident that he could suppress him. Kang Lin knew Longao's talent and strength. If her brother was given enough time, even She would not be able to compete with him in the future. But now, Sister Lin, I have a way to deal with She. He sighed deeply again. Kang Lin said helplessly, Brother Long, you don't know. If it was possible, father would have killed She long ago. However, the current situation is very troublesome. What happened? This was what Longao was most curious about. Under normal circumstances, with Kang Hao's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to kill She. But what was the result? From the beginning to the end, Kang Hao had not made a single move. It would be a lie to say that there was nothing fishy going on. Kang Lin didn't hide anything from Longao. She's master is an old senior of the Domain Lords Alliance. Even my father has to be respectful to him. He was startled. A person that even She was afraid of, it was easy to imagine what kind of existence he was. Longao knew that no matter if it was the Domain Lords Alliance, the Devil Palace or the Pill Hall, they weren't as simple as they seemed. If that was the case, this matter would indeed be very troublesome. Longao also did not think that She's backer was so powerful. Even Kang Hao was endlessly apprehensive. Brother Long, what realm are you at now? I just broke through to the Peak Ultimate God realm. Ah, Peak Ultimate God. Kang Lin's expression completely changed when she heard that her brother had broken through to the Peak Ultimate God realm. She sighed. She was still a Peak Ultimate God while her brother was already a Peak Ultimate God. He was only one step away from becoming a beginner stage Ultimate God. Such talent and potential was enough to be the best in the entire chaotic realm. However, Kang Lin was genuinely happy for her brother. Longao seemed to have thought of something and asked, Sister Lin, do you feel anything strange about the bloodline in your body? Kang Lin certainly knew what her brother meant. Although she was still unsure about what the 9 infants bloodline meant, she could roughly guess from her father and Longao's expressions. There's nothing strange. Brother Long, I know you're worried, but according to my guess, there shouldn't be anything wrong. Would there really be nothing wrong? Longao must be out of his mind if he really chose to believe her. Sister Lin, the most important reason I'm here this time, apart from helping you deal with She, is to get rid of the bloodline in your body. Longao did not voice out his worries. His intuition told him that the 9 infants bloodline did not choose Sister Lin for anything good. It was better to be safe than sorry. If anything were to happen, he would not even have the chance to regret it. What are you going to do? Kang Lin was more than willing to take the risk if there was a way to get rid of the bloodline in her body. Let me think about it. Kang Lin chose to leave first, leaving Longao alone in the courtyard. He looked at Xiao Hei who had appeared in front of him and asked, Xiao Hei, is there really no way? Boss, there's definitely a way, but it's very risky. If it doesn't succeed, you and I. Xiao Hei did not continue speaking, but the meaning behind his words was clear. Longao could not possibly not understand. If it were any other matter, he might have chosen to give up, but this was the only thing he could not give up on. If there was even the slightest mistake, Sister Lin would be completely finished. Xiao Hei, what's the solution? Xiao Hei was also helpless. He was very clear about Boss's feelings for Sister Lin and had already guessed that Boss would not choose to give up. Therefore, he was not surprised and said, "The Nine Infants bloodline must have chosen Sister Lin as the vessel for his rebirth. Under normal circumstances, even if you and I were at our peak, we would not be able to solve this problem." Longao knew what Xiao He was talking about. Otherwise, he would not be so anxious. He did not speak and only waited quietly. "Boss, if you're willing to take the risk, I'll follow you to death. The only way to save Sister Lin is to completely subdue the Nine Infants bloodline. Other than that, there's no other way." Subdue the Nine Infants bloodline? It was easy to think about, but it was easier said than done. The 10 divine beasts of chaos were all extremely arrogant. Back then, he was able to subdue Di Tian and Xiao He because of luck. Among the others, it seemed that only Mo Wutian and the others could do it. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to subdue the Nine Infants bloodline. Longao's expression was very serious. He asked, "The Nine Infants bloodline has not awakened its primordial spirit. How can we subdue it?" "Boss, you don't know. According to my guess, the primordial spirit of the Nine Infants bloodline should be in that drop of blood. Therefore, if we want to subdue it, the primordial spirit must enter the blood." Chapter 31:14. He knew what it meant to have his primordial spirit enter the blood. The blood was Zhu Ying's territory. If he stepped in and failed to negotiate, he would be doomed. Actually, he knew what the result would be. Zhu Ying had finally found a suitable physique to be reborn. How could he give it up so easily? He was helpless. What should he do? He thought about it. "Boss, don't tell me you're going to enter the blood. There's no other way. I have to do it as soon as possible." The longer he delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for Sister Lin. Because of this, he had to do it as soon as possible. Although Blackie had guessed that his boss would make such a choice, he was still shocked when he heard his boss's words. Did his boss want to die? Was it worth it for a woman? In Blackie's opinion, even if Sister Lin was his confidant, he had to give her up when he needed to. It was not worth it at all, especially in the face of death. How could Longao not know what Blackie was thinking in his heart? Was it worth it? Longao asked himself the same question, but the answer was yes. It was worth it. "Blackie, there are some things I have to do. You don't have to persuade me. When the time comes, you stay outside. If anything happens to me, you have to remember to seal me immediately. Don't let anyone take over my body." This was what Longao was really worried about. Entering the blood this time and negotiating with Zhu Ying would definitely be dangerous. Blackie shook his head and said in a firm voice, "Boss, when I decided to follow you back then, I had already decided that I would follow you regardless of life or death. If you were to die, do you think I would continue to live?" Thinking of this, Longao sighed deeply. Back then, he and Blackie made a bloodline contract. If anything happened to Blackie, he would be unharmed. If something happened to him, Blackie would die with him. He felt very guilty. He felt guilty for Blackie. "Boss, do you treat me as a brother?" "Of course." "Then that's enough. I don't want to hear anything else." Longao knew Blackie's character very well. If he did not agree, Blackie would definitely find a way to enter the blood. Rather than that, it would be better for the two of them to enter together. This way, they would have a better chance of survival. "Blackie, how do we enter?" "Leave this to me. Go and get Sister Lin." 2 hours later. "Brother Long, you want to seal me?" Kang Lin was very curious and surprised. She did not know what Brother Dragon wanted to do. Why did he want to seal her? As for the matter, it was complete nonsense. Even if she was beaten to death, she would not believe that Brother Long would harm her. What was the reason? "Sister Lin, listen to me first. You already know that the drop of blood you fused with back then was actually the primordial spirit of Zhu Ying. If you let it continue developing, it will definitely be reborn in the future. There was only one outcome for soul-snatching rebirth, Sister Lin's complete death. This was an outcome that Longao was absolutely unwilling to accept. So that was the case. Brother Long, what do you want to do? I'll seal you first. Blackie and I will enter your bloodline and help you destroy the primordial spirit of Zhu Ying completely. Surrender? Not likely. It would be best if he could surrender. Longao naturally knew what it meant to surrender a Chaos Sacred Beast. Moreover, it was one of the legendary 10 great Chaos Sacred Beasts. However, he did not have any expectations. This was because it would not be easy to surrender Ju Ying. Both he and Blackie knew this very well. Is it dangerous? Kang Lin's intuition told her that this matter was definitely not that simple. If it was easy, Brother Long would not have waited until now. Longao smiled and said, if it was Ju Ying who had awakened his primordial spirit, perhaps Blackie and I would have no way to deal with him. However, it shouldn't be difficult to kill Ju Ying now. Longao naturally would not casually tell Kang Lin how dangerous it was. There were some things that should be done. There was no need to say more. Even if Sister Lin knew, there was nothing she could do other than not cooperate. Sister Lin, don't worry. Boss and I will definitely help you settle this matter. Even if you don't trust Boss, you should trust me. I am the most powerful of the 10 divine beasts of chaos. Blackie sighed deeply in its heart. It was not for Sister Lin, but for Boss. Shameless. Longao felt helpless. The 10 great chaotic divine beasts, Ju Ying, Zhu Yin, Pai Xiu, Qiu Niu, Dao Wu, Lai Tian Beast, Golden Bai Beast, 9-headed Dragon Python, Dao Tai, and Xiao Hei, who was also Di Tian, had similar strength. However, it was impossible to say that Xiao Hei was the most powerful one among the 10 great chaotic divine beasts. Sister Lin, don't worry. Blackie and I will be fine. Not only will we be fine, but it might even be of great help to our cultivation this time. Kang Lin nodded in agreement. She did not want Ju Ying to steal her soul and be reborn. It would be a good thing if she could solve the problem of the blood in her body. Kang Lin had first sealed this place, and no one was allowed to take half a step in. As the young miss of the Domain Lord Alliance, Kang Lin's status in the Domain Lord Alliance was very high, so Longao and Little Black weren't worried that someone would come and disturb them. However, just in case, Kang Lin finally informed her father. When Kang Hao heard the news, he immediately took it seriously. This was related to his daughter's life and death. He could not be careless. Kang Hao personally ordered that no one was allowed to step into the courtyard and he was to guard it personally. The entire Domain Lords Alliance was shocked, but they did not think too much about it. This was because everyone thought that the young miss had reached the critical point of her breakthrough and the Alliance Master was going to help her break through. Blackie, what should we do? Boss, if we want to protect Sister Lin's primordial spirit from being destroyed, we not only have to seal her body, but also her primordial spirit. This way, even if there are any accidents, Sister Lin's primordial spirit will not be affected. Sealing the primordial spirit was not an easy task. It was not something that could be done casually. After thinking for a long time, Longao finally decided to use the Chaos Axe to seal Sister Lin's primordial spirit. This was the only way to ensure that nothing would go wrong. Longao had full confidence in his Chaos Axe. However, Blackie was shocked. He immediately used his spiritual consciousness and said, Boss, you and I both know the power of the Chaos Axe. Although the Chaos Axe can seal Sister Lin's primordial spirit, how are you going to deal with what happens next? Blackie was completely stunned. He did not know what his boss was doing. This was suicide. Chapter 31:15. Other than the Chaos Axe, I don't know what else I can use to seal Sister Lin's primordial spirit. If there was another way, Longao wouldn't be willing to do this. The Chaos Axe was his #1 weapon. He could have used it to deal with Ju Ying, but it was obviously impossible now. Blackie seemed to want to say something, but he swallowed it in the end. Blackie, let's begin. Longao used the Chaos Axe to seal Sister Lin's primordial spirit. Longao, are you confident? Longao didn't hide anything from Kang Hao. He said helplessly, not even 1%. Lin Fan was shocked. Kang Hao obviously knew what Longao meant. He was helpless. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have let Lin fuse with the blood. He thought that Lin would achieve great things after fusing with Ju Ying's blood. He didn't expect this drop of blood to be so troublesome. However, it was too late to regret now. Please. I'll do my best. Kang Hao wasn't a fool. He understood what Longao meant. He was grateful. Even though he knew about the relationship between Longao and Lin not everyone could do it. Kang Hao didn't leave the yard. He guarded his daughter tightly. Nothing must happen to Lin Longao and Blackie entered the Chaos Dantian. Only then did their primordial spirits enter Sister Lin's body. In this way, Longao and Blackie could ensure that their original bodies wouldn't be threatened. They could focus on dealing with Ju Ying. In Kang Lin's body, Longao and Blackie saw the blood the moment they entered. There was almost no suspense. The two of them had already guessed that if there were no accidents, the blood contained the primordial spirit of Ju Ying. No matter if it was Longao or Blackie, both of them were deeply relieved. Ju Ying hadn't awakened his primordial spirit. If he had, they wouldn't have stood a chance. They might not even be able to leave this place alive, let alone destroy Ju Ying. Boss, should we subdue or destroy Ju Ying? How could Longao not know what Xiao Hei meant? Under such circumstances, it would be extremely easy to destroy Ju Ying. As for whether Ju Ying had truly perished or continued to be reincarnated, no one knew. As for subduing it, it would be very troublesome and even life-threatening. How should he choose? Surrender. Thinking back and forth, Longao still chose to surrender in the end. Although it was risky, it was easy to imagine what it would mean once it surrendered. Little Black knew what boss meant and had no objections. Thinking of being able to subdue Ju Ying, Little Black was a little excited. It was almost impossible for Blackie to suppress Ju Ying among the 10 great chaos mythical beasts. Let's go. In the next second, Longao and Little Hay had already entered the blood. It was boundless, and there was a sea of blood everywhere. It looked extremely strange. Longao, Di Tian. The moment the both of them entered the blood sea, they heard voices coming from all around them. Following that, a gigantic mythical beast appeared. It had 9 heads as well. It was one of the 10 great chaos mythical beasts, Ju Ying. Ju Ying, cut the crap. Can you leave Sister Lin? Di Tian, have you lost your mind? Little Black and Ju Ying had a pretty decent relationship. However, they could neither be considered friends nor enemies. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ju Ying burst out laughing maniacally as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. It had taken him so much effort to find a suitable body type. To think that Di Tian and Longao would ask him to give it up. You're not willing? Willing? Di Tian, if you're willing to submit to me, I'll choose to leave this human. How about that? There was no room for discussion. Actually, before entering, Little Black and Longao had already guessed that this would be the outcome. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, both of them did not want to fall out with the other party. As one of the top 10 Chaos God Beasts, Ju Ying would definitely have his own trump cards. The best way to resolve this was to have Ju Ying leave Sister Lin. That would be the best solution as well. Since that's the case, don't blame us for not going easy on you then. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ju Ying burst out laughing maniacally once more. He did not care about the other party at all. If it were Longao and Di Tian at their peak, he might have some reservations. But right now, Di Tian and Longao had just awakened their essence spirits. What was there for him to be wary of? Furthermore, if they were outside and he had not successfully awakened his soul, he would indeed be no match for the two of them. However, the situation was clearly different here. The drop of blood was condensed from his essence, so it could be said that they were in his territory. There was no need for him to be wary of the both of them. Boss, let's not waste our breath with him anymore. Let's. Before Xiao Hei could even finish his sentence, Ju Ying had already begun his frenzied attacks. The blood sea in the surroundings was like a tornado. One by one, the horrifying tornadoes began to engulf Longao and Xiao Hei. This is condensed from all of Ju Ying's essence blood. Boss, you must be careful. The moment we are corroded by the essence blood of Ju Ying, we will be sucked dry by him completely. In fact, we might not even be able to reincarnate for the rest of our lives. That would be a fate worse than death. Of course, Longao knew what condensed essence blood meant. Back when Ju Ying had fallen, all of his essence blood had been condensed into a essence blood space. His essence spirit had entered the cycle of reincarnation. Furthermore, it was a cycle of self-reincarnation. Therefore, within the essence blood space, Ju Ying was an invincible existence. This was also the reason why Longao and Xiao He were wary of him. There was a slim chance of survival. Previously, they had chosen to directly destroy the blood outside. The chances of success were much higher. However, other than wanting to try his luck and see if he could subdue Ju Ying, Longao's biggest reason was that he did not dare to guarantee that once he destroyed the blood, it would affect Sister Lin. It was really an unknown. It was precisely because of this that Longao did not dare to take the risk. Both of their expressions were very solemn. They had originally thought that they could withstand the essence blood space. However, they had underestimated it. Ju Ying seemed to be very confident and continued his frenzied attacks. Xiao He, I'll send you out first. If we leave together. If we die together. This was a complete joke. If Xiao He was afraid of death, he would not have followed Longao into the essence blood space previously. Longao naturally knew what Xiao He meant and was very touched. However, the more it was so, the more he could not let Xiao He take the risk with him, or even die. At this moment, the longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for both of them. They had to send Xiao He away as soon as possible. Otherwise, it was obvious what the consequences would be. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.